Chapter 201, Two Pieces of Bad News. What happened? When Origin Ancestor performed the possession of the primordial universe, the three great ancestral gods of the Elder God cult felt a sudden pang in their hearts. All three looked up toward the Void Realm. They could clearly sense that the Source Will had encountered a problem, trouble, but they were helpless to do anything about it. At the very core of the origin land of the universe, the battle had reached a fever pitch and teetered on the edge of a decisive outcome. With Yue Ming's help, Origin Ancestor's will had pierced to the universe's core, breaking through layer after layer of obstacles to reach a hazy, multicolored sphere deep within. That was the original universe source will. It stood defenseless, fully exposed before Origin Ancestor. With a single thought, Origin Ancestor could perform possession. I won! Ignoring whatever pleas the source will might have made, Origin Ancestors will saturated the colorful light cluster, obliterating the source will's consciousness and taking its place. He now completely controlled the primordial universe. What? As the source will was seized by Origin Ancestor through possession, the three ancestral gods of the Elder God cult went pale. Their connection to the source will vanished, an invisible, taut string had snapped. Horror registered on their faces, and before they could even act, a new will descended. That vast will bore down on them, forcing them to their knees. Boom! Infinite pressure rolled over them. The new will circled them once, then receded. The three ancestral gods exchanged looks of lingering fear and utter disbelief. That was the new original universe source will? What exactly happened? A new source will. What about the original source will? They were stupefied. None of them would have imagined that the original universe source will could be taken by someone via possession. Origin Ancestor, however, did not leave them to wonder. The human race and the Elder God cult harbored no grievances with one another. The Elder God cult had always remained neutral and avoided racial conflicts. Teacher, are you all right? Origin Ancestor, did the possession succeed? Yue Ming and Origin Ancestor's consciousnesses withdrew from the origin land of the universe and opened their eyes almost in unison. The human universe lords and true gods clustered around, stepping forward eagerly. It succeeded. Origin Ancestor rose with a smile. After replacing the source will, he had indeed seized control of the entire primordial universe. But the supreme rule imposed limits. Even with control of the primordial universe, he could not lay waste to it at will. Although I cannot mobilize the primordial universe's power to fight because of the supreme rule's restrictions, Origin Ancestor said, I have gained boundless insight. The benefits of possession were immense. Assimilating those insights would let Origin Ancestor approach the realm of a primordial chaos dominator. Soon was relative, sometimes tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of years. But from the standpoint of a universe lord, that was rapid progress. Yet to truly break through, he would have to pass through reincarnation and go to the origin continent. In a dimensional universe, one can at most break through to avoid true God, and when a breakthrough occurs there, one is forced into reincarnation. Having control of the primordial universe let him perceive its operations, its structure, the 10 basic laws, and the countless fusion laws woven into the origin laws. He could sense countless races, god realms tucked inside spatial rifts, the fringes of the universe sea, innumerable treasures left from unknown reincarnation eras, ancient legacies, and items drifting out from the origin continent. The farther something lay from the primordial universe, the weaker the source will's power could be there. But the perception itself did not diminish. Within this dimensional space's universe sea, it was all within Origin Ancestor's awareness. Even so, the supreme rule still forbade him from arbitrarily wielding the original universe source's power or the might of the universe sea. He could, however, gain control in subtle ways. In fact, Origin Ancestor continued, the greatest benefit of possession is the insight into how the universe operates. The primordial universe is the most perfect universe nurtured by the universe sea. Its laws are supremely refined. Becoming the original source will allow one to perceive the universe's mechanisms in full, accelerating comprehension of the laws. A future breakthrough to primordial chaos dominator would encounter practically no bottleneck. It's only a matter of time. Successfully performing possession of the primordial universe effectively put him on the path to becoming a primordial chaos dominator and, in time, potentially a god king. It was an enormous opportunity, one Yue Ming himself had not needed, otherwise it would not have fallen to Origin Ancestor. After possession, I learned many things, Origin Ancestor said. The two most important pieces of news are these. First, the dark land of the Universe C is nurturing a billion world beasts. The world beast crisis did not arise without cause. Everything has two sides, light and dark, creation and destruction, bound by laws unseen, which is the supreme rule. The primordial universe nurtures all things in life. World beasts, however, destroy everything. They are arguably the most terrifying creatures the Universe C can nurture. They are the antithesis of the primordial universe. World beasts only appear once every countless reincarnation eras, and whenever they do, catastrophe follows. Origin Ancestor explained the world beast crisis. As his words sank in, the universe lords all drew breath sharply. A billion world beasts comparable to the true god realm, and still in their nascent stages? In time, they would devour one another until a world beast king emerged to challenge the primordial universe. I will handle the world beasts. You need not worry. Now, what is the second piece of news? Yue Ming asked at the right moment, and everyone fell silent. They trusted Yue Ming. When he said he could handle something, they believed him. He had never failed them. The second piece of news is this. The original source will has pulled Zuo Shanqi's previous life's God King corpse into the Universe C. The beings of the Origin continent have taken control of the world of Jin and plan to use this opportunity to invade the dimensional universe. Origin Ancestor's face turned grave. World beasts were the primordial universe's greatest crisis, but with Yue Ming present, they were manageable. If the beings of the Origin continent actually invaded the dimensional universe, though, the consequences would be catastrophic. Among those Origin continent forces were several primordial chaos dominators, hundreds of eternal true gods, and thousands of void true gods. That many powerhouses could sweep across the dimensional universe. The beings of the Origin continent intend to use Zuo Shanqi's previous life's God King corpse, the world of Jin, to invade the dimensional universe. Zuo Shanqi's corpse could never have entered the dimensional universe unless the source will had actively drawn it in. In detecting the birth of world beasts, this reincarnation era, the original source will had already begun pulling the corpse into the Universe C. Now it was too late to stop that process. How much time do we have? Yue Ming asked Origin Ancestor. He was currently a god king himself and was not unduly worried about the Origin continent's attack. His main concern was the supreme rule. If he acted directly, he would be forced into reincarnation. If there were no other option, he might have to act anyway and accept being forced to reincarnate. At worst, he would go to the Origin continent first, wait until he broke through to a primordial chaos life form, and then return. Originally, Zuo Shanqi's corpse would have needed several million years to fully enter the Universe C, Origin Ancestor replied. But because of the strong thrust from the Origin continent's powerhouses, it might drift into the Universe C in just a few 100,000 years. A few 100,000 years? A few 100,000 years should be enough. With the black patterned stone pillar accelerating time, Yue Ming ought to be able to break through to a primordial chaos life form without mishap. Once he had broken through and become a primordial chaos life form, the problem would effectively vanish. Chapter 202, The Secrets of the Primordial Universe. About the world beast crisis and the invasion of the Origin continent. I'll handle everything. You don't need to worry. I've known about the world beasts for a long time. They're still in gestation. They haven't truly been born yet. I've been waiting for them to emerge so I could enslave a world beast king. Yue Ming laid out his plan. He hadn't gone to the Dark Land because he knew the world beasts were still gestating. He was waiting for them to be born fully, then intended to enslave a world beast king. World beasts resembled the insect race in some ways. A single world beast king could give birth to an endless stream of world beast warriors, but their potential far outstripped that of the insect race. In time, a world beast king might even become a god king. If he could enslave one and cultivate it to god king, he would command an army of god kings. That force would not only sweep the source world, at the very least, it would let him dominate the origin continent. Of course, the cost would be astronomical. It is extraordinarily difficult for a world beast king to break through to God King. Its growth devours resources without end. Even if the entire dimensional universe were stripped bare, it still wouldn't suffice. I never imagined such destructive beings existed, Yue Ming muttered. No wonder so few Holy Land universes have appeared in our dimensional universe across countless reincarnation eras. It's very possible those old Holy Lands were destroyed by world beasts. The universe lords had long been puzzled. Given the dimensional universe's age, there should have been many Holy Land universes, yet only 2 had been counted before. Origin ancestors' possession of the primordial universe had revealed secrets that explained the discrepancy. Actually, our dimensional universe produced far more than 2 Holy Land universes, Origin ancestor said. World beasts only appear once every tens of thousands of reincarnation eras. Over such stretches of time, countless cultivators pass through reincarnation. After a divine kingdom breaks through to true God, it evolves into a miniature universe and detaches from the primordial universe. As it drifts, its distance from the primordial universe grows until it leaves our perception. Those old Holy Land universes have all drifted into the depths of the universe sea to incredibly remote places. Some have even detached from the dimensional universe entirely. Having taken possession of the primordial universe, Origin Ancestor had expanded his perception across the dimensional universe sea, but that was the limit. Once a miniature universe drifted beyond the dimensional universe's boundary, it vanished from his sight. Within his range, however, he could see over 3,000 miniature universes. Most were void true God miniature universes. Only 3 exceeded the Chaos Dominator level. These were positioned right at the boundary between the dimensional universe and the origin continent. Further drift, and they were gone from observation. Yue Ming sighed. It made sense now. The dimensional universe had produced many superlative beings. Considering that most cultivators on the origin continent originally came from these thousands of dimensional universes, over the ages it was inevitable a number of chaos dominators and a rare few god kings would arise. Even so, god kings remained rare on the origin continent, fewer than 100, as Yue Ming had learned from Zuo Shanqi. Origin Ancestor continued with another startling revelation. I discovered the secret of reversing time and space to resurrect. Within the primordial universe, every universe lord can obtain an ability to control time and space, granted by the primordial universe itself. With that ability, one can resurrect the dead. There is a limit, though. The window for reversing time and space to bring someone back is 1 reincarnation era. No matter the life form, once it dies, its soul is preserved in the primordial universe's origin for 1 reincarnation era. After that, the supreme rule guides the soul into the reincarnation passage, so any resurrection must occur within that single era. This power to manipulate time and space came from the primordial universe. It worked only inside it. Outside, the effect vanished. And because Origin Ancestor's knowledge was constrained by the supreme rule, he could disclose only certain secrets. He could not act without restriction, but within the bounds of the rule, he could make minor changes using the primordial universe's authority, changes that benefited the human race within it. More importantly for him personally, the insights gained while possessing the primordial universe had rapidly advanced his comprehension of the laws. After taking possession, Origin Ancestor had gone into seclusion to prepare for a breakthrough to the void true God realm. A 10th order true God surviving reincarnation depended largely on luck. A void true God, however, was almost certain to pass through successfully. Origin Ancestor had been a peerless genius before. Now, with the primordial universe's support, his ascent to Chaos Dominator seemed near certain, and becoming a God King was a real possibility. It's time to meet Zuo Shanqi, Yue Ming said at last. Zuo Shanqi had been invited into the virtual universe, but had remained in his miniature universe instead of coming to the human territory. When Yue Ming arrived, Zuo Shanqi did not appear surprised. He seemed to have expected it. Senior, Yue Ming began, you must have known long ago that my previous life's divine body was used by people from the origin continent to invade the dimensional universe. Why didn't you tell me? Zuo Shanqi listened calmly. Relax. Sit down, and we'll talk. Chapter 203, God King Level Supreme Treasure Set. My previous life's divine body, and even the world of Jin inside it, were indeed invaded and taken over by the powerhouses of the origin continent. The virtual consciousness I left behind in the world of Jin dissipated not long after, and the entire world of Jin has been seized by them. But they underestimate a God King too much. Yue Ming's voice was cold. The anger at having his former divine body stolen was inevitable, yet there was nothing he could do for now. He had to wait until the divine body truly entered the universe sea. If you can deal with those invaders without me having to act, all the better. I don't want to go to the origin continent yet. If Zuo Shanqi could eliminate those intruders, Yue Ming would be relieved. Acting himself would surely draw the attention of the Supreme Rule and force him into reincarnation. What worries me most is whether the secret art I left in the world of Jin has been discovered by them. I obtained the Li Yuan technique when I was young. It's rumored to have been left by Yuan, a powerhouse who transcended God Kings. It's likely a secret art beyond God King level. Originally, I planned to leave it to Luo Feng. Now, I can only hope they haven't found the Li Yuan technique. Zuo Shanqi actually knew little about the legendary Yuan, only that Yuan was in existence who transcended God Kings. If the Li Yuan technique truly came from Yuan, it would be beyond God King level. Zuo Shanqi had once tried to cultivate it and failed. The divine eye secret art he created had been inspired by the Li Yuan technique. Fortunately, the Li Yuan technique has strict cultivation conditions. Even I failed to cultivate it back then. Even if they do find it, they won't be able to cultivate it successfully. After the divine body enters the universe sea, we still have a chance to reclaim the Li Yuan technique. The Li Yuan technique had circulated across the origin continent for untold years. Zuo Shanqi was not its first possessor. Others had obtained it before, but none had succeeded in cultivation. Yue Ming murmured the name without much interest. The technique was basically a primordial chaos-level will secret art, and in the chat group mall, cultivation techniques were among the least valuable items. But the Li Yuan technique inevitably called to mind the ancient primal chaos lord Yuan, who had visited many source worlds and left legends behind. Their source world was only one of many, and the Li Yuan technique's cultivation relied less on will than on the soul itself. Luo Feng's success with the technique likely had to do with his soul being transformed when he inherited the Star Tower. During the Star Tower's refining, a mysterious colored light from beyond the heavens had merged into it. Yue Ming suspected it might be connected to the future primal chaos lord, City Lord Luo. Otherwise, the coincidence was too great. How else could an unbidden light perfectly integrate into the Star Tower during refining and dramatically increase its power? I heard from Luo Feng that you've broken through to the God King realm, Zuo Shanqi said, incredulous. Others might think a God King was merely powerful, but someone from the origin continent knew the weight of the title. A God King ranked among the pinnacle of that world. And how long had it taken? Yue Ming had only cultivated a little over 100,000 years. It wasn't even enough to form a miniature universe in his body. How could he have broken through to a God King so quickly? I have, Yue Ming replied simply. He had no reason to hide it. He just preferred not to make a show of it. Zuo Shanqi's breath caught. He understood far more than most the true value of the words God King. The legacy of the Duan Donghe lineage of Wu Kingdom has appeared. Surely you've heard of it. These are Yuan embryos I obtained from their treasure trove. I wonder how exactly these embryos should be used. Yue Ming knew in general that he could integrate secret patterns he had comprehended into a Yuan embryo, thereby raising its grade. At its peak, it could grow into a God King level supreme treasure. But he didn't know the precise method. Zuo Shanqi's eyes lit up when he saw the 10 Yuan embryos hovering before them. Such embryos were rare even in the origin continent. Most Chaos Dominators would never see one, let alone 10. Wu Kingdom had perished long ago like Jin Kingdom, and the Duandonge lineage had once produced a God King. Zuo Shanqi knew the name. A Yuan embryo is an unformed special treasure. Now that you've broken through to God King, you can directly integrate God King level secret patterns to upgrade a Yuan embryo into a God-King level supreme treasure. As for how to integrate secret patterns, I'll teach you. Thank you, Senior, Yue Ming said, and took one of the Yuan embryos. It was an armor-type embryo. Following Zuo Shanka's instructions and under his guidance, Yue Ming began integrating his secret patterns into the embryo. Whenever he encountered doubts or unclear points, he consulted Zuo Shanke, who answered everything he could and taught him patiently. Hundreds of years passed in a blink of time. Finally, the integration was complete. At Yue Ming's thought, the armor-type Yuan embryo erupted into a stream of azure light and merged into his body, forming an azure battle armor that enveloped him from head to toe. There are also 3 other types, domain, palace, and soul, that need secret pattern integration, Zuo Shanke reminded him. When Yue Ming had chosen the 10 Yuan embryos, he had taken 2 of each type. He already had a Chaos Sword embryo for weaponry and didn't need another. The sealing of a Yuan embryo was a God-King level supreme treasure, which still didn't compare to the Chaos Sword embryo, but the embryos were invaluable all the same. Yue Ming then spent over 1,000 more years integrating secret patterns into the domain type, palace type, and soul type embryos, upgrading them to God-King level supreme treasures. The remaining 6 embryos were of no use to him, so he planned to place them in the human race treasure trove. Selling them in the chat group mall would only net him a few points, worthless to someone at his level. It was better to keep them for the clan or for exchange. Now, with the armor, domain, palace, and soul treasures completed, Yue Ming could rightfully claim to possess a God-King level supreme treasure set. Chapter 204, Group Member Cries for Help. Teacher, these treasures are called Yuan embryos. I unexpectedly acquired them in the Universe Sea not long ago. Please take one for yourself, teacher. I plan to put the other 5 Yuan embryos into the clan's treasure vault. After returning to Primordial Chaos City, Yue Ming went straight to Ice Peak Lord and produced all 6 Yuan embryos, offering one to him and intending to store the remaining 5 in the clan vault. Ice Peak Lord frowned at the unfamiliar term. Yuan embryos? He had never heard of them. Yue Ming purposely kept his explanation vague. If Ice Peak Lord realized their true value, he might refuse the gift. In the end, Ice Peak Lord selected a weapon-type Yuan embryo. Yue Ming taught him, briefly, the pattern imprinting method Zuo Shank had given him, and Ice Peak Lord vanished in a flash. When Ice Peak Lord understood what a Yuan embryo was, a growth-type treasure that advanced with its owner, he was stunned. Realizing Yue Ming had deliberately given him such a precious thing warmed his heart. He smiled proudly at his disciple. Yue Ming placed the 5 remaining Yuan embryos in the clan's treasure vault. He had no use for keeping them himself. After all, a set of God-King level supreme equipment was more than enough. He attached 2 simple conditions to anyone who wanted one. First, the recipient must be a true god, since there were so many universe lords and only 5 Yuan embryos. Second, the candidate had to pay 1,000,000 treasure points. It was almost giving them away. Such an unparalleled, self-growing treasure would spark a scramble even if the price were 100 times higher. Yue Ming, status rank, God King, rank 6. Realm Way of Eternal Chaos, 3%, fusion of 61 laws. Will, peak God King level. Gene, 100,000 times. Secret techniques, Heaven-Severing Sword Intent, Heaven-Severing Sword Technique, 9th form. More than 10,000 years passed in a blink of an eye. Yue Ming had been in seclusion inside the black patterned stone pillar palace for over 10,000 years, and in that time, he comprehended another 30 origin laws. His way of eternal chaos evolved further. The black patterned stone pillar space ran its flow of time 1,000,000 times faster than the outside world. While Yue Ming felt those 10,000 plus years, only 4 or 5 days elapsed outside. The chat group, however, was unaffected by such acceleration or deceleration. For the chat group, the same span of time had passed as Yue Ming had experienced, more than 10,000 years. Rank 1. Administrator Big Shot, help me. There's another transmigrator in the world I transmigrated to, and he may have discovered me. He might kill me to silence me. Administrator Big Shot, you must save me. While Yue Ming was meditating on the laws, a notification pinged. Someone had added him in the chat group. Opening the message, he saw it was a newcomer named Shi Qing. Shi Qing claimed to have transmigrated into perfect world and warned that another transmigrator was already there. Fearing discovery and possible elimination, and knowing the administrators could transmigrate between worlds, Shi Qing begged the group for help. Yue Ming didn't answer publicly. Instead, he entered the administrator's private channel to discuss the request with Li Shanhe and Lu Ming, since Shi Qing had messaged them as well. Yue Ming, rank 6, a newcomer, just add me. He says there's another transmigrator. He transmigrated into perfect world. Isn't that the same world as Lu Ming? Just a different era. The chat group usually only sends one transmigrator per world, right? Shi Qing sent me a message too. The chat group's rules say only one transmigrator is placed in each world. If this is true, it must mean Shi Qing's perfect world isn't the same timeline as Lu Ming's. Probably a parallel, maybe derived from a fan fiction. Shrouding the Heavens world. I got the request as well. The all heavens and myriad worlds are full of parallels. It's not surprising a newcomer could slip into a parallel perfect world. Could even be a swallowed star parallel someday. No big deal. Li Shanhe, rank 6. The transmigrator Shi Qing mentioned is likely the protagonist of that perfect world parallel. That protagonist probably has a golden finger, maybe a system. If we can seize that system, the three of us will be rich. Shrouding the Heavens world. Exactly. Even a mediocre system is worth several hundred origin points. A good one can fetch tens of thousands. Are you stupid? Selling to the chat group mall is wasting it. We should auction it at the Myriad Heavens Mall Alliance. It'll bring a sky-high price, at least several times more. A system can be that valuable? Let's go now. Shi Qing said he may already have been discovered. If we arrive too late and he's eliminated, we won't be able to reach this perfect world. The prospect of tens of thousands of origin points pushed aside any hesitation. Even if the other transmigrator's golden finger wasn't a system, it could be some other treasure of enormous value. The three administrators submitted a transmigration application to Shi Qing at once. Shi Qing, likely expecting rescue, accepted almost immediately. The three of them descended into the perfect world parallel. Three administrator big shots. Welcome to perfect world. I am Shi Qing. A small, tender voice reached their ears. Looking down, they saw a child, no more than 5 or 6 years old, squatting in front of them. It was Shi Qing's body. First, tell us about the situation in this world, especially about that other transmigrator, Yue Ming said, scanning the child. He did not treat Shi Qing like a child. The body was young, but an adult soul dwelled within. Esteemed big shots, this is what happened. Shi Qing's voice trembled with apprehension. Standing before 3 rank 6 administrators, figures who, in perfect world terms, were at least comparable to immortal kings, he felt both awe and dread. Chapter 205, Wild Transmigrator. According to Shi Qing, he'd only been transmigrated into this world for about half a year. The perfect world storyline had just begun, and with his golden finger, his cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds in that short time, earning him the title of one of the 2 great prodigies of the martial king's estate. The other prodigy, of course, was Shi Yi, the double-pupil youth who, in the original plot, dug out Shi Hao's supreme bone. Born with double pupils and hailed as a natural saint, Shi Yi's fame and strength far outclassed Shi Qing's. Then, 3 days ago, everything changed. Shi Yi discovered that Shi Hao possessed a supreme bone. His mother planned to extract it and transplant it into Shi Yi, but at the last moment, Shi Yi refused. He famously declared, "Double pupils are an unrivaled path. Why borrow another's bone?" The words shook the martial king's estate. Even the Stone Emperor praised him, saying Shi Yi possessed an invincible heart and would achieve greatness if he didn't die young. That single refusal sent Shi Yi's reputation soaring across Stone Country. It was precisely when Shi Yi gave up the transplant that Shi Qing received a prompt from the chat group. A transmigrator had appeared in Perfect World. Shi Qing's first suspect was Shi Yi. Before he could act, though, Shi Yi came to him personally, just the day before, and said a string of cryptic lines. Heavenly King covers Earth Tiger, odd changes, even doesn't change, and other riddling phrases. Others might not understand them, but Shi Qing did. Shi Yi was testing him. Shi Yi suspected him of being a transmigrator. Shi Qing didn't exist in the original plot. There was no prodigy or even minor character by that name, so Shi Yi's suspicion was reasonable. Fortunately, Shi Qing managed not to show any abnormality and got by. It was also possible Shi Yi suspected him but couldn't act openly. Shi Qing's current identity was the grandson of an elder in the martial king's estate, part of the direct lineage. His status wasn't low. Combined with his genuine talent, many were watching him. If Shi Yi decided to eliminate him quietly, no one would suspect Shi Yi, especially with the Yu clan backing him. That thought drove Shi Qing to seek help from Yue Ming and the others. He didn't expect much, but when help came, it arrived in force. The administrator, the big shot, didn't just rescue him alone, he brought everyone. Supreme Bone. Yue Ming muttered to himself. Supreme bones came in many forms. Some were literal bones within the body. Others appeared as clumps of hair or even coagulated blood in the hand. What they shared was a deep, intrinsic link to the body and a vast reservoir of power. Those who possessed supreme bones were called primordials, peerless prodigies whose combat power far exceeded ordinary cultivators, and who were rumored to have the potential to become a supreme. Even among primordials, there were differences. Denser, more complex runes meant stranger and more formidable abilities. Supreme bones could be transplanted, and they could undergo nirvana rebirth. Transplanting a supreme bone carried great risk. The original owner often died, and after nirvana rebirth, a bone's abilities could upgrade dramatically. Take Shi Hao's bone. Once extracted and later reborn, its Hand of the Heavens evolved into reincarnation, crushing the Hand of the Heavens itself. Such nirvana events, however, were rare. Yue Ming thought Shi Yi had been clever to refuse the transplant. The desolate Heaven Emperor's karma was not something easily resolved. If Shi Yi had accepted the Supreme Bone, it would likely have bound him to future accountability, possibly costing him his life. A wild transmigrator was, by definition, any transmigrator who did not belong to the transmigrator lineage. Shi Yi's actions looked like the work of someone who understood that. "You need to change your personality," Li Shani told Shi Qing. "Don't be so eager to show off. Be low-key. You've only been here half a year and already have the title of a prodigy. There's a saying, the nail that sticks out gets hammered. We can save you this time, but next time might not be so easy." Shi Qing agreed. He would try to be far more discreet from now on. If he hadn't been so conspicuous, Shi Yi might never have suspected him so soon after transmigration. In the future, he'd let Shi Hao take the spotlight and quietly develop from the shadows. Shi Yi hasn't fully matured yet. He's not a major threat. Dealing with him would be like turning over a hand, Yue Ming said. But we can't ignore the golden finger on him. If it's a system, it could escape through space when he dies. We need to prepare. Capturing a system wasn't simple. Machines like systems or chat groups were the creations of transcendent-level supremes. Because they had transcendent attributes, systems and chat groups could transmigrate and communicate across all heavens and myriad worlds. To capture such a thing, they needed help from an existence of comparable rank. The only transcendent they knew who might assist was Sect Master Tongqian. They sent for him. Sect Master Tongqian agreed to help and said he could craft a disposable, simple magical artifact capable of capturing a system or chat group, but it would cost 100 origin points. Sect Master Tongqian wouldn't be moved by such a small sum. The transmigrator lineage followed strict rules of equivalent exchange. Tongqian wasn't doing them a favor for free. Still, Yue Ming made a decision. "Let's gamble," he said. "We split the 100 origin points 3 ways. If the golden finger turned out not to be a system or a chat group, the 100 origin points would be wasted, but it was a risk they were willing to take." I overestimated myself. I've been too busy these past few days, so I can only guarantee 2 updates for now. Chapter 206, the Get Stronger by Listening to Advice System. How do I use this thing? Are you sure it can capture a system? Li Shanhe summoned a sword seal in his hand, an illusory sword shadow that gave off a faint silver light. This was the magical artifact Sect Master Tongqian had made to capture systems. Sect Master's a transcendent. He wouldn't lie. If he said it can capture a system, then it can. As for how to use it, I don't have to do anything. Once it senses a system or a chat group, the sword seal activates on its own, Li Shanhe explained. Then don't waste time. Do it. Yue Ming gestured. With a sweep through space, he pulled someone out, an adolescent about Shi Qing's age, born with double pupils. It was undoubtedly Shi Yi. I don't know who you are, but think carefully. If you act against us, neither my Shi clan nor the Yu clan will let you off. Release me, and I'll forget this ever happened, Shi Yi said. Though young, he carried an uncanny composure, almost more mature than an adult. Shi Yi, you're a transmigrator, so you must have a golden finger. Tell us, what is it? Lu Ming said. At the word transmigrator, Shi Yi's body trembled for a heartbeat before he forced himself calm. I don't know what you mean. Shi Yi started to stall, but Shi Qing stepped forward and cut him off. You said yesterday, the Heavenly King covers the Earth Tiger. The odd changes, but the even doesn't. How could you forget so fast? Tell us, or we'll make you remember, with pain. Shi Qing. Shi Yi ground his teeth, hatred flashing in his eyes. His suspicion was right. Shi Qing was also a transmigrator, and these people were his allies. I'm a prodigy of the Shi clan. The Shi clan and the Yu clan stand behind me. If you release me, I'll give you 10 times whatever Shi Qing gave you. Shi Yi cursed himself for not acting sooner. If he'd known this would happen, he would have endured the pressure and eliminated Shi Qing then and there. In front of these three big shots, the Shi and Yu clans are nothing but ants. You really think you can threaten them? You don't know what you're talking about. Yue Ming's face showed no mercy. With a snap, Shi Yi's voice was cut off and his whole body vanished. A faint golden light, something like a soul or essence, shot toward a crack in space, attempting to escape. The sword seal in Li Shanhe's hand shivered and automatically unleashed a net of sword chi that trapped the golden light. In an instant, it returned to the form of a sword seal and fell back into Li Shanhe's palm. How is it? Yue Ming asked Li Shanhe. I appraised it in the chat group mall, Li Shanhe said, excitement in his voice. It's a system called the System That Becomes Stronger by Listening to Advice, valued at 20,500 origin points. The sword seal itself had only cost 100 origin points, and now they had captured a high-quality system. This was a windfall. The chat group mall's acquisition price is 2,500 origin points. If we send it to the Myriad Heavens Mall Alliance for auction, the price should at least double. If we're lucky and find the right buyer, it could triple or quadruple. Li Shanhe continued. The chat group mall buys at a discount. Auctions usually raise the price significantly. Even divided 3 ways, each of us would get well over 1,000 origin points. Can we keep the system? Lu Ming asked. It was tempting. The system was clearly better than most golden fingers freely handed out in the chat group. It's safer not to keep it, Li Shanhe replied. Those who can create systems are almost always transcendents. Many set traps or tracking marks. If the original owner ever traced it, we'd be in trouble. I agree. Sell it, Yue Ming nodded. There was only one system, hard to divide among 3, and the risk of the original owner returning was too great. Leave this to me. I'll ask Sectmaster to handle it and entrust him to send it to the Myriad Heavens Mall Alliance for auction. Sectmaster agreed. The sword seal vanished from Li Shanhe's hand. He had already sent the sealed system to Sectmaster Tongtian via the red envelope function. The next Myriad Heavens Mall Alliance auction is still more than 5,000 years away. Let's go back and wait to collect the origin points. The 3 of them ignored Shi Qing and returned to their respective worlds. 2,500 origin points, Shi Qing muttered to himself. He'd heard the whole exchange. When he learned the system taken from Shi Yi was worth 2,500 origin points, envy flared in his eyes. He'd only recently joined the group, but he already understood the chat group's workings and how valuable origin points were. Still, he knew he wouldn't be getting any of them. Now he understood why the 3 administrator big shots had come when he called for help. He'd thought it was because of his face, but it was plainly for the golden finger on Shi Yi. For me, eliminating Shi Yi is the most important thing, Shi Qing told himself. Origin points could be earned later, but Shi Yi was a ticking time bomb. No one knew when he might explode and destroy everything. Shi Yi's death will cause a stir, but Big Shot Yue Ming's intervention will leave no traces. If I act like normal, no one should suspect me. Chapter 207, Origin Points Arrived. 200. The origin points have been credited to my account. Back in the Swallowed Star world, Yue Ming rejoined the administrator's chat. He'd tasted the sweetness of it, finding wild transmigrators and looting their golden fingers to sell for origin points was undeniably much faster than grinding missions. He wondered if the other worlds had similar wild transmigrators. Lu Ming, rank 6. Yue Ming, do you mean we should keep looking for wild transmigrators? Good idea. With so many members in the group, some of their worlds must have them. Li Shanhe, rank 6. You're overthinking. People are selfish. If Xiqing hadn't been desperate, he wouldn't have asked for our help. The others wouldn't agree to let us transmigrate to their worlds. Li Shanhe was right. If Yue Ming were in their position, he wouldn't want other transmigrators, especially stronger ones, suddenly appearing in his world. The chat rules didn't forbid attacking fellow members. If someone hostile transmigrated to your world, there'd be no escape. Respect in the group was often only surface deep. Yue Ming, rank 6. Fine, forget it. Maybe I was naive. Those newcomers show respect on the surface, but deep down they're wary and afraid we'll harm them. It's too hard to gain their trust. Lu Ming ranks 6. It comes down to authority. Administrators aren't the same as the group leader. Transmigrating to other worlds still needs member consent. Li Shen, why don't you talk to the cult master and see about raising our authority? Are you serious? Do you think the cult master is easy to bargain with? If you want to try, go ahead. I wouldn't dare. If you made him angry and he revoked your admin rights, you'd regret it. Lu Ming, rank 6. I'll ask in the group. Maybe some members will agree. At worst, we can share some origin points with them later. I'll ask now. Yue Ming and Li Shanhe weren't particularly worried, but Lu Ming felt the pressure. The weird race looming over him made him desperate to grow stronger as fast as possible. He suspected others would eventually come begging them for help. Don't get worked up. That's enough chat for today. I'm going back to secluded cultivation. You two shouldn't waste all your time here either. Diligent cultivation and getting stronger is the righteous path. Yue Ming rarely lingered in the chat. Everything in this world was illusory, only strength was real. He had read many novels about groups being a loving family, but unless someone overwhelmingly powerful forced obedience, such harmony was impossible. Their group had too many members with diverse personalities. The 3 administrators were capable, but their authority was limited. Transmigration required consent, and they couldn't expel people, so the administration had little leverage. Respect was often a facade that could crumble when interests clashed. 5,000 years passed in a flash. Yue Ming comprehended more than 10 origin laws and used his law fusion device to forcibly integrate them into the Way of Eternal Chaos. The Way of Eternal Chaos now contained 46 origin laws. Li Shanhe, rank 6. The Myriad Heavens Mall Alliance auction ended. The system sold for 7,100 origin coins. After the mall's 10% commission, that leaves 6,390 origin coins. After deducting 100 origin coins for the sword seal, the remainder will be split 3 ways, 2,096 origin coins each. I'm sending your red packets now. Li Shan mentioned Yue Ming and Lu Ming in the admin chat and sent each an exclusive red packet. When Yue Ming opened his, 2,096 origin points appeared in his account. Swallowed Star, Yue Ming 6, folded. Golden Finger, Law Fusion Device points, 5.24 quintillion. Rating, 8.9 origin points, 2,881. Yue Ming checked his attribute panel and saw the balance, 2,881 origin points. He grinned. He already had more than enough cultivation points, but now he could finally afford an 8th-tier supreme treasure. The cheapest on the chat group mall cost over 1,000 origin points. Lu Ming, rank 6. Ha ha ha, I'm rich. With these 2,000+ origin points, I'm sure I can break through to rank 7 within 1,000,000 years. Rank 6. I've had my eye on an 8th-tier supreme treasure in the mall for a while. I didn't have enough origin points before, but now I do. Yue Ming, rank 6. I plan to upgrade the Chaos Sword Embryo. The mall sells innately immortal spiritual light. I'll buy one and integrate it into the embryo. That should allow the Chaos Sword embryo to transform into an 8th-tier supreme treasure. Yue Ming had long intended this. He liked the Chaos Sword embryo and didn't want to replace it. Integrating innately immortal spiritual light would likely force it to transform into an 8th-tier supreme treasure. Li Shen, rank 6. The Chaos Sword embryo is an unformed Chaos Supreme treasure. Integrating innately immortal spiritual light can indeed transform it into an 8th-tier supreme treasure, but the outcome is uncertain. It might become a regular 8th-tier supreme treasure, or it might become a top-tier one. It's a matter of luck. I advise you to save a few more origin points and just buy a mid-grade 8th-tier supreme treasure outright. Li Shanhe offered the warning in a brotherly way. 8th-tier supreme treasures varied widely in quality. Relying on a risky transformation could backfire. Spending more origin points to buy a mid-grade one directly could be safer. Yue Ming, rank 6. I'll reconsider. I haven't broken through to rank 7 yet, so the Chaos Sword embryo is enough for now. I'll revisit this after I break through. A year rushed by. Though only 1 year had passed in the primordial universe, 1,000,000 years had slid away inside the black patterned stone pillar space. On this day, Yue Ming finally mastered the way of eternal chaos. After comprehending the 3,000 origin laws and forcing them together with the law fusion device, the way of eternal chaos completed its final transformation. If he wished, he could begin to assault the primordial chaos lifeform realm at any time. The dimensional universe, however, was not a suitable place for that kind of breakthrough. Yue Ming planned to go to the origin continent. Once he broke through to primordial chaos there, the supreme rule would no longer be able to bind him, and he would be free to travel between dimensional universes. Yue Ming opened the administrators' chat group. There were now 4 administrators. Liu Shanshan had finally broken through to the 6th rank and become the 4th administrator of group number 98. Another milestone was that the chat group itself was finally full. 9,999 regular members, plus the group leader, Sect Master Tongtian, came to exactly 10,000 people. Unless a member died and was not revived within 10,000 years, the group would no longer invite anyone new. Swallowed Star, Yue Ming, 6th rank. My seclusion is over. I'll probably head to the origin continent very soon to prepare for a breakthrough to the primordial chaos realm. Wish me luck. Tomb of God, Liu Shanshan. Congratulations. The primordial chaos of the Swallowed Star world is comparable to the 7th rank of the heavens. I didn't expect you to be the first in our group to reach the 7th rank. Coiling Dragon. You're going to break through so soon? I still need at least another 100,000 years to reach the 7th rank. I didn't expect to be overtaken by you. Shrouding the Heavens, Liu Ming. To become a Hongmeng controller, you need to separate a wisp of your true soul and leave it on the Hongmeng Golden ranking list. Li Shan, are you sure you want to do that? It feels a little risky. I know what you worry about, but don't worry. There's nothing wrong with the Hongmeng Golden ranking list. I had Sect Master Tongtian check it long ago. Li Shanhe had read many fanfictions about Coiling Dragon and stellar transformations, and one conspiracy theory said Hongmeng controlled other controllers through the Golden ranking list. That was slander. Hongmeng was only 7th rank. Its methods would not escape the notice of 9th rank Transcendent Sect Master Tongtian. Since Tongtian had checked it and said it was fine, Li Shanhe trusted it. Coiling Dragon, 6th rank. But in the Coiling Dragon world's cultivation system, the Hongmeng controller is the peak. For the 8th and 9th ranks, I'll have to forge my own path. Swallowed Star, Yue Ming. In the Swallowed Star cultivation system, primordial chaos is basically the end. It might be a bit stronger than Coiling Dragons, but it's still only a 7th rank pinnacle. Among all the worlds their group members had transmigrated to, Liu Ming's Shrouding the Heavens world had the highest system rank, aside from the Supreme Primordial world where Sect Master Tongtian had gone. In Coiling Dragon, a Hongmeng controller was comparable to an elementary primordial chaos lifeform or an immortal emperor, while a primal chaos lord equaled a seasoned 7th rank, similar to a sacrificial Dao. Shrouding the heavens even had a realm above sacrificial Tao, which clearly crossed into the 8th rank. At first, Yue Ming had thought a primal chaos lord might be equivalent to an 8th rank, but as he rose and encountered higher levels, he realized a primal chaos lord was only a 7th rank peak. Shrouding the heavens, Lu Ming, 6th rank. I've asked this in the administrators group before. When cultivators reach the limit of their world's system, they either forge a new path or switch to another system. Within the transmigrator lineage, there are many cultivation systems that can reach the 8th rank peak. Cultivators who want to switch systems have plenty of options. If they have the energy, they can cultivate multiple systems at once. Many who are trapped at the 8th rank for years cultivate several systems concurrently. Below the 8th rank systems still differ, but at the 9th rank the distinctions fade. No matter the system, all roads lead to the same destination. Swallowed Star, Yue Ming, 6th rank. All right, I'm done chatting. I'm heading to the origin continent to break through to primordial chaos. He then went to the City Lord's mansion. He didn't tell the truth about venturing into the reincarnation system to reach the origin continent. He only told the primordial chaos City Lord that he would enter seclusion for a long time, no longer than 100,000 years. He was absolutely confident he would become a primordial chaos life form within that span. Once he did, he would be able to move freely between dimensional universes. After informing the City Lord, Yue Ming left the primordial universe, teleported to Collapsing Peak World, one of the 3 deadlands in the Universe C, and entered the Dark Land. World Beast is still gestating, he murmured. Yue Ming spread his will across Collapsing Peak World and could clearly sense the Dark Land. Within it, 1 billion lives were gestating. It would still be a long time before the World Beast fully emerged. He traveled to the deepest part of the Dark Land and reached a vast hollow. Beyond lay a huge passage, its surface rippling with colorful energies. At the passage's mouth, vague shapes flickered, half human, half beast. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of millions of them swept past the entrance. This was the reincarnation passage, the path to the origin continent. The origin continent is the source of all dimensional spaces. The Universe C that surrounds it, which seems like endless void, actually contains countless dimensional Universe Cs, the 3,000 dimensions Universe C. Each dimensional Universe C has a primordial universe and a reincarnation passage. The passage serves 2 purposes. A life form born in a primordial universe that becomes a void true god can pass through it to reach the origin continent, and when a life form dies without becoming a void true god, its soul travels the passage toward the origin continent. Weak souls are annihilated inside the passage. Only strong souls survive to arrive. Even those who make it will lose the memories of their previous lives, making full reincarnation possible on the origin continent. In short, the 3,000 primordial universes exist to nurture powerful souls and send them to the origin continent. By eliminating the weak in the passage, the origin continent's beings are born exceptionally strong. 209. Impact on Hunyuan, Chapter 209, Charging Towards Primordial Chaos. Yue Ming had lived in the Swallowed Star world for so many years, slaying countless beings, universe lords, true gods, and more. All of those deaths could be reborn on the origin continent. Universe lords and true gods certainly reincarnated. Yue Ming even suspected that Undying might too, though if they did, they lost their memories of past lives and essentially became someone new. If the 3,000 dimensions Universe C was the foundation, the root of the origin continent's prosperity, then the origin continent was the common source of all dimensional universes and the most flourishing place of them all. Origin continent. Yue Ming murmured as he gazed at the passage for reincarnation. Without hesitation, he stepped into the stream of flowing light. In moments, his figure was submerged in an endless current of color. As he traveled through the passage, he felt an unusual comfort. All around him, 7 huge streams of light flowed, and within them were blurred shadows, the souls of the dead. Some looked human, some like alien beasts, some like plants. The forms were bizarre and varied, representing every race. There was no danger in the passage. Even void true gods could pass through reincarnation with certainty, let alone Yue Ming, who stood at the God King realm. According to what Zuo Shanke told me, the origin continent is enormous. Even a god king would find it hard to traverse, and there are ancient, dangerous places no god king dares enter. As the center and origin of the 3,000 dimensions universe C, the origin continent was vast and full of perilous ancient regions. Even the greatest powers of the continent were mysterious and terrifying. Two broad factions dominated it, the natives and the cultivators. Because the origin continent was the birthplace of all dimensional universes, it nurtured countless treasures and drew in geniuses from the 3,000 dimensions universe over successive eras of reincarnation. In the distant past, these newcomers clashed with the natives. At first, the natives held the advantage. Then the balance shifted, and as more powerful beings poured in, the cultivators gradually suppressed the native forces. Today, cultivators controlled more than 80% of the continent's territory. The natives were forced into remote, difficult regions, constantly hoping to reclaim their homeland and never giving up their struggle. War between natives and cultivators had raged across endless ages. Many of the weapons found drifting in the universe C, supreme armaments stained with blood, were discarded tools from those wars on the origin continent. The strange timber used by Lord Yuan Ao in the original Swallowed Star Tale, for example, was a native weapon. The natives did not refine weapons the way cultivators did, relying instead on strange woods and unique metals. But that did not mean the natives were weak. They had endured against the cultivators for ages. Some peak native existences rivaled god kings, or they would have been annihilated long ago. Time passed as Yue Ming traveled. The distance between his dimensional universe and the origin continent was immense. Even through the reincarnation passage, it took years. At last, the passage spat him out. In the endless chaos void stood a continent of unimaginable scale, its borders lost in the void, vast far beyond a dimensional universe. Its outermost reaches were ringed with clouds, through which countless unique creatures swam and flew. In the distant chaos, even more colossal bodies loomed. A casually exposed tip of one of them could dwarf a star domain. With a rush of wind, the clouds split into a seven-colored vortex, and a cyan figure burst forth to land upon solid ground. Is this the origin continent? The space here is far more stable than in the dimensional universe. The rules are stronger and impose heavier restraints on life. To break the space here would require at least the true God realm. Yue Ming looked around. He stood among soaring mountain ranges and silently probed the environment. The origin continent's spatial stability and strict rules explained why countless battles across the ages had failed to harm it. In the cloud-encircled heights, some beings seemed to notice him, but they were cowed by his aura and retreated. From what he could sense, they were little more than unintelligent creatures. Their auras were weak, at best true gods, so he paid them little mind. He reached out and gathered a handful of the ambient energy. A ball of pure chaos chi formed in his palm. Compared to the dimensional universe, the cultivation environment on the origin continent was vastly superior. No wonder so many beings there were undying from birth. This was exactly why Yue Ming had chosen the origin continent to attempt his breakthrough to primordial chaos. Its rules were complete and powerful. True gods were countless, void true gods abundant, and eternal true gods numerous. The continent bred strong lives. Chaos dominators and above were common. Even ordinary adults, and certainly promising youths, were often undying spiritual gods. Adults here could generally attain godhood, and although the continent's powerful rules suppressed their destructive capacity, they were born strong, free from disease and calamity, and enjoyed extremely long lifespans, virtually eternal so long as they avoided catastrophe. Still, warfare was rampant. Battles between mighty individuals often caused collateral deaths in the millions. Achieving true immortality was far from easy. This will do. I'll go into seclusion here. The spot he'd arrived at was remote and empty. Perfect. With a flicker, Yue Ming soared to the peak of a mountain, produced his palace treasure, and entered it. There he settled into seclusion, beginning his charge toward primordial chaos. Chapter 210, Advancement to the 7th Level of Primordial Chaos. Time flowed on. Inside the God King-ranked treasure hall, Yue Ming sat cross-legged in the sanctuary as countless insights into the way of eternal chaos rose in his mind. Millennia passed in the blink of an eye. Then, one day while cultivating, a flash of inspiration struck him. A sense of perfection swelled in his heart, and with a single, blazing insight, he felt the threshold of primordial chaos opening before him. Breakthrough. Yue Ming's body and soul began to transform. His flesh trembled as a faint radiance shimmered beneath his skin, his whole form taking on the appearance of the most perfect treasure. Within him, the tiniest constituents, innumerable secret patterns woven through every particle, underwent a total metamorphosis. His bones, muscles, organs, bloodline, and blood all shifted. The change was absolute, as if everything were evolving naturally toward the ideal primordial chaos life form. Not only his physical bloodline, but his soul was also aligning with primordial chaos, though the soul's refinement proceeded more slowly and would take longer to complete. Extract origin coins. Yue Ming logged into the chat group and began drawing origin coins from it. As he steadily consumed coin after coin, the pace of his transformation accelerated. Over another 1,000 years, at roughly 1 origin coin per year, he had used 1,500 origin coins. Body and soul neared the end of their overhaul. This was a profound leap in the level of life. The final step needed to break free of its cage and become primordial chaos. Boom, riding the way of eternal chaos and fueled by a massive consumption of origin coins, Yue Ming completed the ultimate leap. He advanced to an elementary primordial chaos life form. The blood in his veins remade itself into primordial chaos blood. A terrifying power rippled outward, washing over the origin continent. Every cultivator across the continent felt the disturbance and looked up, alarmed. What's happening? Such pressure. Who could it be? This isn't the pressure of a god king. Expressions changed even among god kings. Countless powers at Dominator rank and above teleported toward the source of the pressure, but when they arrived, Yue Ming had already gone. This feeling, Yue Ming stood in the primordial chaos void realm. After becoming a primordial chaos life form, his miniature universe had expanded so much it could no longer fairly be called a miniature. It had become a small source world. Though its foundation was far from that of a vast source world, in terms of life level and the essence of being, he was on par with one. He felt like an entire world unto himself. Compared with a god king, a primordial chaos life form was incomparably greater. From Yue Ming's perspective, the entire origin continent, or the whole source world, was like another primordial chaos being, like a great scroll laid out before him, every detail visible. This is the true infinite divine body. He examined himself. Were he to fight now, his physique would be immense. True primordial chaos life forms could possess bodies vast in the primal chaos space, some bigger than a source world. Infinite primordial chaos space. With a thought, Yue Ming withdrew from the source world and stepped into the infinite primordial chaos space. If that boundless realm could be likened to an ocean, then source worlds were islands scattered across it, varying in size. The primal chaos space stretched immeasurably. Even primordial chaos life forms did not know its true extent. Perhaps not even a primal chaos lord knew. The vast primal chaos is broadly divided between two great forces, the innate primordial chaos races and the cultivator faction. They have vied with each other for endless eons. Overall, cultivators are weaker than the innate races. Yue Ming did not dare to wander the infinite primal chaos space recklessly. He had only just become an elementary primordial chaos life form, the weakest among them. To roam carelessly and run into another primordial chaos presence would be dangerous. He quickly returned to his source world. Next, comprehend deeper mysteries of the Tao, master the origin, evolve primordial chaos powers, and break through to the primal chaos lord realm. Primordial chaos life forms ascend from lowest to highest, elementary primordial chaos life forms, high-level primordial chaos life forms, world-level Hunyuan life forms, and finally primal chaos lords. To reach the primal chaos lord stage, one must master the origin and then evolve distinct primordial chaos powers. For example, one who comprehends the void Tao and masters the origin can evolve primordial chaos void power. Yue Ming, having mastered the way of eternal chaos, can evolve primordial chaos eternal chaos power once he masters the origin. Each cultivator's path differs. Becoming a primal chaos lord, however, is far from simple. Yue Ming was only at the elementary stage. Above him lay higher-ranked primordial chaos beings and world-level Hunyuan life forms. For cultivators, there are generally two conventional routes to becoming a world-level Hunyuan life form. One is to spread one's faith across the source world. If more than half of its beings believe in you, you can control the source world and ascend. The other is to gradually comprehend enough Taos. Once you control a majority of the world's Taos, you can marshal the foundation of the source world to feed yourself and advance. Both paths take long spans of time. Even after gaining dominance over a source world, advancement still depends on the world's power feeding back to strengthen you until you ultimately rise to world-level Hunyuan. Yue Ming did not intend to take either path. He planned to consume a large number of origin coins to expand the miniature source world inside his body. If that inner world grew into a large source world, he could advance directly to a world-level Hunyuan life form. Compared with the other two methods, this was a pay-to-win route that demanded massive origin coin expenditure. But with enough coins, it would save enormous cultivation time and allow a much quicker ascent. I'm only an elementary primordial chaos life form right now. I can't control the supreme rules broadly, but I can still modify them within a limited range. Just as true god-level powers can speak, and it is done in the primordial universe, a primordial chaos life form like Yue Ming could alter the supreme rule to a certain extent within certain bounds. He had taken his first step into a vastly greater existence, and a long road of growth still lay ahead. Chapter 211, Essence, the Foundation of Everything. Supreme Yue Ming, the whole source world, became a scroll. That scroll was made of countless lines that were the laws, each line containing endless Tao profundities. The source world itself was formed by innumerable great Taos, each line a great Tao, countless great Taos coalescing into a single whole, ultimately resolving into the supreme rule. Yue Ming's future path of cultivation was to explore those profundities, to comprehend the primordial chaos Tao, to grasp the essence, and to evolve his own unique primordial chaos power. Primordial chaos power was the soil of the source world and of many other worlds. Everything flowed from it. To break through to a primordial chaos lord, one had to master the essence. The essence was not just a single primordial chaos Tao, it was the foundation of all things. The essence made up primordial chaos power, and primordial chaos power encompassed everything. Status, rank, elementary primordial chaos lifeform, 7th tier. Realm, way of eternal chaos, will, elementary primordial chaos will. Bloodline, elementary primordial chaos bloodline. Secret technique, heaven-severing sword technique, 9th form. Yue Ming opened his status panel. He had been promoted to an elementary primordial chaos lifeform, 7th tier. His will had broken through to the elementary primordial chaos level, and even his genes had evolved into an elementary primordial chaos bloodline. He had advanced along the law route to reach this level. Perhaps because he spent so many origin coins, his bloodline evolved alongside him. His physique had become incredibly powerful. In other worlds, the difference between the law route and the bloodline route might be like the difference between comprehending the Tao and body refinement. Purchase innately immortal spiritual light. Yue Ming opened the chat group mall and spent 1,000 origin points to buy a wisp of innately immortal spiritual light. Now that he had reached the primordial chaos level, he could upgrade his chaos sword embryo. Instead of spending several thousand more origin points on a mid-tier 8th tier supreme treasure, he gambled on the spiritual light to upgrade the embryo. A chaotic light appeared in his palm, the innately immortal spiritual light. At the same time, a stone sword materialized in his hand, the 7th tier supreme treasure, the chaos sword embryo. He held the embryo in one hand and the spiritual light in the other, and merged them. As the spiritual light integrated, the embryo began to evolve. Its surface cracked and fragments of stone flaked away. The crude stone sword transformed, blossoming into a dazzling, chaos-colored treasure sword, the true form of the chaos sword. Its blade flashed with secret technique runes, exuding a terrifying aura. Around the sword, space itself was altered. The weapon twisted space, distorted the world, even warped the laws. Simply looking at it made Yue Ming, an elementary primordial chaos lifeform, feel a chill. This was the terror of an 8th tier supreme treasure, an existence that transcended primordial chaos lords. Fortunately, he was the sword's master. Otherwise, he couldn't have neared it. Even if he couldn't unleash its full power, Yue Ming suspected the sword would allow him to contend with a primordial chaos lord and easily slay a world-level Hunyuan lifeform. I bet right. After fusing with the innately immortal spiritual light, the Chaos Sword embryo had indeed evolved into an 8th-tier supreme treasure, a mid-tier, 8th-tier Chaos Sword. The embryo had been an unformed supreme treasure. Its evolution was uncertain. It could have become an ordinary 8th-tier treasure, a top-tier 8th-tier treasure, or failed outright. Yue Ming's gamble paid off. He'd effectively earned the value of several thousand origin points. I'll use the rest of my origin points to extract origin coins and expand the small source world inside me. That should push me to a high-level primordial chaos lifeform. Yue Ming began extracting origin coins and feeding them into the small source world within his body. Time slipped by as he refined the origin coins and forged primordial chaos-level offensive secret techniques. Several thousand years passed in a flash. His origin points were exhausted, but the tiny source world inside him had expanded hundreds of times. I've advanced to a high-level primordial chaos lifeform. He opened his eyes. By consuming all the origin points on his attribute panel, the source world within him had grown hundreds of times, and his life level finally rose to a high-level primordial chaos lifeform. The small source world still wasn't the size of a true source world, only about 1/10. But it was continuously absorbing energies from the outside to expand. Compared with the frenzied growth while consuming origin coins, absorbing external energy was painfully slow, like walking while someone else flew by plane. Normally, a source world the size of the origin continent, even if completely dismantled for its origin, might yield only 6,000 or 7,000 origin coins. A slightly larger source world might give tens of thousands. Yue Ming had spent so many origin coins to expand his small source world and still hadn't reached the size of a normal source world. It made sense. Building or expanding a source world required far more origin than destroying one and extracting it. It was like tearing down a house and selling the materials. You'd get far less than it cost to build. First, I'll return to the dimensional universe. With a thought, he returned to the dimensional universe. He didn't hide his cultivation realm. He had altered the supreme rule so it no longer targeted him. He still had to be careful. His strength was immense, and the dimensional universe's space was fragile. A careless strike could destroy the entire universe sea. Yue Ming suppressed his aura with effort, wary that even a slip could tear apart the universe sea of the dimensional universe. World of Jin, his gaze went far out. A massive God-King corpse was hurtling toward the universe sea. With a hand wave, Yue Ming annihilated the origin continent powerhouses within the world of Jin across that vast distance. He could have exterminated the 3 God-Kings of Shi Kingdom on the origin continent with a thought, but he chose to leave them for Luo Feng, to serve as training and a whetstone. Rumble. The God-King corpse, which would have taken hundreds of thousands of years to reach the universe sea on its own, was instantly teleported by Yue Ming to the edge of the universe sea. It plummeted inward at incredible speed, colliding toward the center. Chapter 212, World of Jin Rumble. An impossibly massive corpse, shaped like a humanoid, cut through the universe sea at speeds millions, tens of millions of times faster than light, bearing straight for the primordial universe. Wherever it passed, the surrounding chaos chi was rubbed raw by its super high-speed flight, igniting into blinding streaks of light that scarred the void realm. The trail it left was long and terrible. When the corpse appeared in the universe sea, Zuo Shanqi, an origin ancestor, sensed it at once. Zuo Shanqi's awareness flared because the corpse was from his previous life. Origin ancestor perceived it because he had taken possession of the primordial universe, his will spreading through the dimensional universe sea. Yue Ming immediately messaged both of them, explaining what had happened. He had eliminated the invaders from the origin continent and moved the corpse into the dimensional universe. Decades flashed by. As the corpse drew closer to the primordial universe, it attracted the attention of the universe sea's powerhouses, and soon the major forces had it in their sights. Thousands of figures, each at least a universe lord, many true gods, and even a few universe strongists rallied in a dense cluster to follow its path. Such a scene, with so many titans gathered, was rare even for a single reincarnation era. What a colossal corpse, bigger than a miniature universe. Its speed, if it hit head-on, even a universe strongest would be pulverized. One of the universe's strongests muttered, a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. The shockwave from the corpse's passage had already injured him. If it had struck directly, he would have been dust. More and more true gods and universe lords poured in, like ants trying to stop a flying mountain. But the mountain did not slow. The humanoid corpse, about 160 million light-years tall, kept moving toward the primordial universe at a terrifying pace. The gathered powerhouses launched attack after attack, trying desperately to alter its course, but none of their efforts could budge it. "Stop wasting your strength," the first true master of the divine eye race warned. A ninth-tier true god at the peak of his rank and a renowned figure in the universe smoldering. See, he spoke with weight. Our power alone can't stop it. There are only two choices. One, let it follow its current trajectory. It will almost certainly collide with the primordial universe and be contained by its power. But if that happens, this opportunity will have nothing to do with us. Beings from the first and second reincarnation eras can't enter the primordial universe. The human race will monopolize it. 2. We cooperate to keep bombarding the corpse and change its flight path, ideally forcing it to crash into one of the three absolute lands. Any of those lands is comparable in power and has a high chance of stopping it. The other powerhouses exchanged looks and nodded. If the corpse struck the primordial universe, their forces would gain nothing. Worse, if it barreled through on its current course, it might smash into other miniature universes along the way and shatter them. Unseen above them, Yue Ming watched. He stood as if in another dimension, present but unperceived by the gathered powerhouses. In the original history, the combined efforts of the Universe C's forces had indeed altered the corpse's path, diverting it toward the universe boat. But with Yue Ming here, that outcome was impossible. If he could claim the world of Jin for himself, he had no reason to share it. Useless, completely useless, cries Rose, as their attacks failed to shift the corpse even slightly. Wave after wave of power descended on it, but the giant body did not so much as tremble. Helpless, the assembled ranks watched it crash into the primordial universe. Origin Ancestor acted immediately. Drawing on the primordial universe's power, he confined the corpse with seemingly effortless authority. Yue Ming had already told Origin Ancestor about the world of Jin. The forces of the Universe C could not enter the primordial universe, so this opportunity was clearly the human race's to possess. The human race was already the dominant force there. With Origin Ancestor's possession of the primordial universe, it was as if the entire primordial universe had become their backyard. A ripple opened in the nearby void realm, and a figure stepped through. Crystalline double horns jutted from his forehead, and a dark, shining black robe hung from his shoulders. Zuo Shank. He hovered in the void, silent, eyes fixed on the giant corpse. His gaze traveled over every inch of it, as if reading lines of a memory. He examined the hair, the eyes, the nose, the ears, the mouth, and the ancient armor it wore, murmuring under his breath, lost in recollection. "She Kingdom," he grated, voice tight with hatred and the tremor of madness. With a step, he phased deeper, teleporting along the corpse's surface until he stood at a huge, damaged wound near its waist. He ran his hand over the shattered armor. Beneath, the wound yawned for hundreds of millions of light-years, a ravine so vast to him that it felt like a mortal tracing a handful of riverbank. He touched it reverently. "Senior, aren't you going to enter the world of Jin to take a look?" a voice said beside him. Yue Ming had already arrived earlier, but he had let Zuo Shanke reminisce untouched. Now he revealed himself. "Then let's go in and see," Zuo Shanke replied. For ordinary powerhouses, entering the world of Jin would require waiting for the right moment. For these two, however, stepping into it was effortless, Yue Ming by nature, and Zuo Shanke because this was, in truth, the corpse of his previous life. Chapter 213, Creating Primordial Chaos Rank Secret Techniques. Two figures appeared in the world of Jin, standing in the void realm with a view that encompassed the entire land. This was an ancient, boundless region of rolling, majestic ranges where heaven and earth brimmed with chaotic chi. Instantly, they teleported to God King Valley and entered the Wuchi Tower. Zuo Shank had once left a virtual consciousness inside the Wuchi Tower to oversee the world of Jin, but that consciousness had dissipated after invaders from the origin continent attacked. The Wuchi Tower itself was a treasure thousands of light years tall, the core of the world of Jin, linked to the universe origin space of that world. Countless guardians had once stood watch outside it, but the invaders had slaughtered them all. Senior, may I examine the Li Yuan technique? Yue Ming asked. Among the myriad treasures in the world of Jin, it was the Li Yuan technique that interested him above all. He did not mean to keep it for himself. He wanted to draw inspiration from the Li Yuan technique and the various will-type secret techniques available in the chat group mall to forge a will secret technique that fit him perfectly. As you wish, Zuo Shanke replied, studying Yue Ming. He could no longer fully gauge Yue Ming's strength. Yue Ming was at least a third-tier God King now. As for transcending God King to reach the legendary Yuan level, Zuo Shank considered that unlikely. Throughout the ages, aside from the legendary Yuan, no one had been confirmed to surpass God King. If not for Yuan's appearance, Zuo Shanke might have doubted that any realm lay beyond God King. Many thanks, Senior. Yue Ming bowed, then vanished into the 8th floor of the Wuchi Tower, a vast floating continent. As he arrived, enormous characters formed silently in the surrounding void, arranging themselves into a circular scroll that wrapped him in star-like script. In the center of that scroll world rose an infinitely tall mountain, and on its peak stood a majestic palace glowing faintly purple. Inside the hall waited a purple-horned exotic beast, the spirit of the secret technique, guardian of the Li Yuan technique. The Li Yuan technique was a legacy secret technique left by primal chaos lord Yuan, and only one successor could claim it. Yue Ming did not intend to inherit the technique verbatim. He sought inspiration. Because cultivation systems differed across worlds, techniques from the chat group might not be fully compatible, so he planned to use the Li Yuan technique as the primary foundation and integrate elements from other will-type systems to craft a technique wholly suited to himself. Quiet, Yue Ming murmured, calming the purple-horned beast, then began to study the Li Yuan technique. While Yue Ming cultivated, the major powers of the primordial universe, led by the human race, had already gathered at its edge. There lay a colossal corpse in the void. Streaks of colorful light flashed across the emptiness as true gods and universe lords from various forces arrived and landed around the giant body. Outside the primordial universe, thousands of powerhouses from the first and second reincarnation eras in the universe C watched helplessly as the human race seized this immense opportunity. They dared not enter the primordial universe. Almost every major force there had joined the Great Alliance. The human race now dominated. The other forces either joined the human alliance or had been annihilated. There was no other path. Origin Ancestor, when shall we enter the world of Jin? One universe lord asked. The time is not yet ripe, Origin Ancestor replied. Yue Ming had already reported the situation in the world of Jin, and Origin Ancestor had convened the giant axe meeting and informed the human universe lords. The news left the universe lords impatient to enter, but they waited. Among them, Luo Feng gazed blankly at the giant corpse, some 160 million light-years tall, suddenly realizing it was the God King body from the previous life of his teacher Zuo Shanke. He was stunned. While Yue Ming had gone to the origin continent and broken through to a primordial chaos rank life form, Luo Feng had inherited the Duan Donghe lineage and, 1,000 years earlier, had broken through to become a universe lord with true god rank combat power. Thousands of years had passed, and now the world of Jin was finally opening. Led by the human race, the primordial universe's powerhouses entered the vast gap between the corpse's lips and moved into its interior. Back in the Wuchi Tower, after several thousand years of study, Yue Ming had not only thoroughly comprehended the Li Yuan technique, but had also purchased dozens of will-type secret techniques from the chat group mall. Using the Li Yuan technique as his primary blueprint and integrating elements from other systems, he finally created his own primordial chaos rank will secret technique. He also developed the 10th form of the heaven-severing sword technique, a primordial chaos rank offensive secret technique, though its power was only comparable to an elementary primordial chaos rank attack. He named his will technique sky-cutting secret art. He had been too lazy to invent an elaborate name, so he settled on sky-cutting. At first, he completed only the first layer of sky-cutting, equivalent to an elementary primordial chaos rank will secret technique. Time slipped by. Another 5,000 years passed. Yue Ming completed the second layer of sky-cutting and added the 11th form of the heaven-severing sword technique, elevating both to high-level primordial chaos rank secret techniques. His status now read, rank, high-level primordial chaos lifeform, 7th tier. Realm, way of eternal chaos. Will, high-level primordial chaos will. Bloodline, elementary primal chaos bloodline. Secret techniques, sky-cutting secret art, 2nd layer. High-level primordial chaos rank will secret technique. Heaven-severing sword technique, 11th form. High-level primordial chaos rank attack secret technique. Yue Ming's figure vanished from the world of Jin and reappeared in the black-patterned stone pillar space of the primordial universe. He discovered, somewhat unexpectedly but logically, that the time acceleration effect of the black-patterned stone pillar space no longer affected him. After studying the phenomenon, he concluded that it was likely because he had broken through to a primordial chaos rank life form, and the pillar's rank was too low to influence him anymore. The black-patterned stone pillar was only a Chaos Dominator rank treasure. System prompts chimed in. Claim origin points. Congratulations, you have received 81 origin points. Extract origin coins. Yue Ming had spent over 8,000 years in seclusion and had accumulated 81 unclaimed origin points. He claimed them, converted them into origin coins, and invested everything into his internal small source world, causing it to expand considerably. It had grown, but it was still far from the standard of a full normal source world. Chapter 2 of 14. What is the essence? Yue Ming's figure flickered as he arrived at the core of the primordial universe's origin. From there, he could observe the operational trajectories of that universe's laws, which greatly aided his comprehension of law profundities. Yue Ming was already a high-level primordial chaos lifeform. Promotion to a world-level Hunyuan lifeform was only a matter of time, but to become a primal chaos lord required more than rank. One had to grasp the essence. World-level Hunyuan lifeforms used various methods to control a source world and then relied on the source world's power to temper themselves. Yue Ming had skipped much of that process by devouring origin coins. Yet origin coins alone could not make a primal chaos lord. To reach that peak, one had to comprehend the primordial chaos Tao they governed to its extreme, seize the essence of that Tao, and then evolve a unique primordial chaos power. In the infinite primordial chaos space, beside cultivators, there were innate primordial chaos lifeforms that continuously tapped their bloodline power to evolve, eventually reaching a level comparable to primal chaos lords. Those beings followed the bloodline path. Yue Ming, in fact, could follow that path too. When he broke through to become a primordial chaos lifeform, his bloodline already evolved into the elementary primal chaos lineage. On careful inspection, he could see that after advancing to that bloodline, his bones, flesh, hair, and other parts contained primordial chaos-level law profundities, manifesting differently across his body. What exactly is the essence, he wondered. Cross-legged in the core of the primordial universe's origin, Yue Ming watched the law's motions and absorbed their profundities, hoping to seize the essence through prolonged comprehension. A normal source world's supreme rule was composed of many Taos woven together into a relatively complete system, and that completeness made comprehension harder. In an evolving universe, like the primal universe where primordial chaos city sat, the operational laws were expressed more externally, so understanding origin law was twice as effective. The source world Yue Ming occupied, however, had existed for countless years. It had long passed the early evolutionary stage and become very complete, which made comprehension extremely difficult. The best targets for such study were newly born source worlds, but those were rare, and many were claimed by primordial chaos lifeforms as soon as they appeared. Finally, I've reached the 8th-level world of Wuki Tower, a voice muttered elsewhere. While Yue Ming meditated, Luo Feng, by unremitting effort, had at last arrived at the 8th-level world of Wuqi Tower to receive the prerequisite legacy for the Liyuan technique, the Na Yin secret art legacy. To cultivate the Li Yuan technique, one had to first master the Na Yin secret art. Only after one's will was sanctified could one truly cultivate Li Yuan. The hardest part was the Na Yin secret art itself. Many god kings had tried and failed. Luo Feng stepped into the 8th level world, climbed to the summit of an endless mountain range, and entered a magnificent palace. There, like Yue Ming before him, he encountered a purple-horned strange beast, the secret art spirit. I am the secret art spirit. More precisely, I am the secret art, the beast declared. If you wish to inherit this secret art, you must pass my test and win my recognition. The beast coiled in the palace. Black scales covered its body. Its build was lion-like. A curved purple horn rose from its forehead, and purple light burned in its eyes as it stared at Luo Feng. Luo Feng's surprise turned to elation. An ordinary person might not know what a secret art spirit was, but Luo Feng, heir of the Duandonghe lineage, did. The legend said only a few heaven-defying masters ever refined a secret art into a treasure and invested it with a spirit. Spiritualizing a secret art was extraordinarily difficult. In the Duandonghe lineage's records, only the 3rd ancestral master had achieved such spiritualization. Subsequent inheritors had not. Once a secret art gained a spirit, it would choose its true owner. Those who tried to seize such an art by force would only fail, unless their power far exceeded the creator's. And who could refine a secret art treasure and spiritualize a secret art, if not beings at the peak of existence on the origin continent? Almost all of them were god kings, already the strongest there. How can I pass your test and obtain the secret art legacy? Luo Feng asked, steadying himself. He had no intention of using force. He knew it would accomplish nothing. He would submit to the spirit's conditions. You were able to enter this scroll world, so you have some foundation, the spirit said. But whether you can inherit this secret art depends on your fortune. The purple horn flashed, sending 4 beams of light to different corners of the palace. Immediately, huge painted scrolls unrolled down the 4 walls. Countless characters covered each scroll, but only the characters on the first scroll were clear. The other 3 were blurred. These 4 paintings together are the secret art legacy, the spirit explained. The first records the Na Yin secret art, the core of the entire secret art. Master that, and you will pass the test. Luo Feng nodded. He knew of the Na Yin secret art from the Duandonghe lineage's legacy records. It served as both a test and a protective seal for a secret art, like the lineage's own legacy imprint. Bound by such a seal, a secret art could not be leaked. Even if one were killed and their memories probed, the imprint would collapse and erase everything, making the legacy impossible to find. Many major powers on the origin continent used the Na Yin secret art when transmitting profound legacies to their disciples. Once mastered, it allowed the true secret art to be drawn out while hiding it from any memory searches. Beyond protection, the Na Yin secret art also served to select qualified inheritors. It contained numerous difficulties that only those who met its requirements could overcome. Mastering the Na Yin secret art meant one could cultivate the secret art itself. After an indescribable span of training, Luo Feng's divine form gleamed with specks of purple light. Across every part of his spiritual body, a massive purple symbol had been integrated, and waves of will energy rippled outward. He had finally mastered the Na Yin secret art. Cultivating the Na Yin secret art had little to do with raw willpower. Among the origin continent's super geniuses, countless lawmasters had reached the will of an eternal true god and still failed. The Na Yin secret art demanded only part of one's will. It primarily tested the soul. At the moment Luo Feng fully integrated the Na Yin secret art of the Li Yuan technique, an inexplicable gaze from the infinite primordial chaos space fell upon him. Chapter 215, Primordial Chaos Lord Yuan. A cultivator has actually mastered the Na Yin secret art, the Li Yuan technique? Let me see which source world a genius like this has come from. In the infinite primordial chaos space, on a disc-shaped island, an old man with snow-white hair sat in quiet contemplation. He was a primordial chaos lord. On closer inspection, the disc-shaped island itself was a source world. The old man was Yuan, an ancient primordial chaos lord who had wandered countless source worlds, leaving legacies behind. Any cultivator who inherited one of his legacies might one day break past their limits and ascend to primordial chaos. Yuan had visited so many worlds that he could no longer remember them all, nor recall where every legacy had been left. Still, whenever someone inherited one of his legacies, he sensed it instantly. Eh. Yuan made a small sound of surprise. While observing Luo Feng, he had discovered that a primordial chaos life form had been born in that source world not long ago. Upon breaking through, this life form had immediately become a high-level primordial chaos life form. That was remarkable. What astonished Yuan even more was the speed. The cultivator had achieved this in under 200,000 years. Such talent was staggering. Over endless ages, he had seen countless geniuses, but none compared to this one. This person is a prodigy, Yuan mused. If he keeps progressing, there's a strong chance he'll become a primordial chaos lord someday. Better to build a good relationship now. With that, Yuan flicked his finger. A ribbon of colorful light tore through infinite primordial chaos, spanning immeasurable distance, piercing through time and space until it reached the source world that contained the origin continent and descended to the core origin of the primordial universe. "Little fellow, keep it up," Yuan murmured, then withdrew his gaze. Breaking through to become a primordial chaos lord was ultimately a solitary achievement. He could not do it for another. Cultivators and innate primordial chaos life forms had warred for ages, and because primordial chaos lords were so rare, cultivators had often been at a disadvantage. Among all the lords, Yuan took greatest pleasure in nurturing the younger generation. He had left legacies in many worlds in the hope that the cultivator side might give birth to more primordial chaos life forms, and perhaps someday another lord. In Yue Ming, he saw that hope. Without hesitation, he sent Yue Ming an opportunity. The ribbon of light, the primal chaos light. Primal chaos light was one of the most miraculous treasures in the infinite primordial chaos space. Legendary, rare. When merged into a weapon, it could elevate that weapon into a primordial chaos supreme treasure. When fused with a soul, it could transform that soul, and its other effects were inconceivable. What is this? Yue Ming, who had secluded himself at the core origin of the primordial universe and was immersed in comprehending the world's rules, suddenly sensed something. He looked up and saw the colorful light piercing time and space toward him. Primal chaos light? Before the color could reach him, Yue Ming reached out and plucked it from midair. Information about the primal chaos light flooded his mind. Its uses, its effects, everything. Yue Ming's expression shifted. The light stirred a memory. When Zuo Shanke had been refining the star tower, a similar ribbon of color had flown in and merged with the tower. If his guess was right, that too had been primal chaos light. At the end of the incoming information, Yuan had left a short message. Only then did Yue Ming understand the gift's origin. He didn't rush to use it. Instead, he opened the chat group mall for appraisal. Finding no traps, no hidden strings, he felt confident enough to integrate the primal chaos light into his soul. Of all the ways to use primal chaos light, Yue Ming chose soul integration. Compared to improving a supreme treasure's quality, transforming his own soul would yield far greater benefits and would boost his future rate of comprehending mysteries of the Tao. Colorful radiance spilled from Yue Ming's body as streams of light danced around him. Soon the light enveloped him completely. As it seeped into his soul reshaped, growing clearer, purer. The feeling of soul transformation was sublime. One soul transformation, and my speed of comprehending rules has increased by more than tenfold, Yue Ming thought, awed. It truly deserves its reputation as one of the most miraculous treasures in primordial chaos space. He savored the change, fully aware that accepting the gift placed him indebted to Yuan. That debt would be repaid in the future, or at least when he had the power to do so. For now, he would take the advantage. Repaying it could wait until after he had a chance at becoming a primordial chaos lord. Time slipped by unnoticed. Streams of light continued to accumulate around Yue Ming, each representing a different Tao: Destruction Tao, Life Tao, Void Realm Tao, Fire Tao, Soul Tao, and more. These Taos hovered at threshold levels, naturally grasped by Yue Ming as he probed the mysteries of the world. Yet no matter how many Taos he comprehended, he had made no progress toward understanding origin itself. Without that comprehension, he could not ascend to primordial chaos lord. His consciousness remained immersed in the core origin, where countless Taos intertwined and overlapped, Each contained elements of the others, the supreme rule far too intricate to easily parse. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the multiverse, Luo Feng advanced as well. When Luo Feng mastered the Na Yin secret art and inherited the Li Yuan technique legacy, he swiftly arrived at the ninth layer of the Wuqi building world. The place he entered was a quiet courtyard, its ancient walls carved with motifs unique to the Jin world. "Come in," a voice called from the dwelling ahead, one Luo Feng found oddly familiar. He walked down the solemn path into the courtyard and saw a man in a resplendent king's robe seated on an exquisite black throne. "Teacher," Luo Feng blurted, "are you not curious why I am here?" Zuo Shanke smiled, then told the truth, how the Jin kingdom had been destroyed, how 3 god kings of the Shi kingdom had hunted him, and how, with no other choice, he had taken the enormous risk of slipping into the dimensional universe. Zuo Shanke's request was plain. In the future, if the opportunity for revenge came and Luo Feng had the power, he hoped Luo Feng would lend him a hand. Luo Feng, a man who weighed gratitude and resentment rightly, listened and then nodded without hesitation, ready to return the favor when the time came. Chapter 216, The 10 Great Weird Ancestors Emerge. A pall of death chi hung over the bleak, desolate plateau. This place was the legendary Earth of Calamity, the ancestral land of the weird race, and it had been tainted by their ominous power since ancient times. The sky was leaden, an ominous pressure pressing down. Any being other than the weird race who dared enter the Earth of Calamity found only death. Decaying things crawled along its fringes, and now and then a handful of weird creatures emerged from its depths. The plateau itself was vast beyond imagining. A single corner could be the size of a great realm. Scattered across the wasteland plateau were the corpses of immortal emperor-level beings, still stained with blood after countless ages. If immortal emperors could perish here, it showed how fearsome this place truly was. Boom. On that day, at the deepest edge of the plateau, the air split as an ancient, bone-raising cry echoed out, chilling every living thing. The end of the wasteland plateau cracked open, and figures stepped out. Some were dry as dead wood, others smeared with black blood. A foul, oppressive aura spilled from them, suffusing the plateau and spreading outward. These were the ancestors of the weird race, the font of all their strangeness and dread. Under ordinary circumstances, they slept. Today, for reasons unknown, all 10 of them had awakened at once. The moment the 10 ancestors emerged, heaven and earth trembled. The plateau shuddered. Great Tao tremors knotted like chains and then shattered into fragments. Space-time itself went into chaotic flux. Desolate. The word, more a name than a cry, rang through the void. The 10 ancestors' eyes were hollow, death gray, some weeping blood. When they looked into the void realm, things withered and decayed, and whole worlds went barren. Dark creatures and every branch of the weird race fell to their knees, kowtowing as if on pilgrimage. The wasteland plateau was isolated from the outer world by countless veils of space-time. For ages, only immortal emperor-level beings could even approach it, and even they rarely survived. Apart from a being called Desolate, who had once broken in and returned, every immortal emperor who had set foot here had met their end. Why have the ancestors all awakened? A dark immortal emperor whispered. Normally, the ancestors slept. At most, 2 or 3 might stir at once. 10 arising together had never happened before. We foresaw a future disturbance and sensed a variable threatening our lives. We have all arisen to eliminate it. Prepare the great sacrifice ahead of schedule. One of the ancestors spoke across the wasteland plateau, his voice rolling like thunder. They had been roused by a shared, unconscious foresight. All 10 had felt an unknown calamity linked to life and death, some peril that could end them, and they had instantly revived. Together they read the threads of fate, breaking through the fog of possibilities, and traced the threat back to a single name, Desolate. They were no strangers to Desolate. Desolate had been the first to break into the wasteland plateau and return unscathed. Over the endless years, the ancestors had clashed with Desolate again and again. He was a constant thorn. Every attempt to trap or suppress him had failed. Now they could not even locate Desolate's true body. If they could not find him, they would bury the era itself. They did not believe Desolate would refuse to appear. The 10 ancestors together were more than enough to sweep away everything. To eliminate this variable, They intend to hold the great sacrifice ahead of time. The dark immortal emperors were shaken. A cold unease settled over the weird race. Far away, in the swallowed star world, Yue Ming sat meditating at the core of the primordial universe origin when a prompt chimed inside his mind. The chat group notification. Advanced Chain Quest. Detected shrouding the heavens world. Number C5034. The weird ancestors perceived a life-and-death crisis and are preparing to hold the great sacrifice early to eliminate Desolate and the Variable. Quest requirements. Stop the great sacrifice. Quest reward, 1,000 origin points. Special note, this is an advanced chain quest, the final quest. Maximum participants 10. Acceptance is not recommended for those below Tier 7. The final advanced chain quest for the Shrouding the Heavens world had been released. The reward was tempting, but with all 10 weird ancestors awake, the challenge would be staggering. Yue Ming had already accepted the previous quest, so the chat group assumed he would take this one as well. Others who had not accepted the earlier task could still join. The sacrificial Tao of the Shrouding the Heavens world ranked at Tier 7. If an immortal emperor who had only just entered Tier 7 counted as a baseline, then the sacrificial Tao ancestors were veteran Tier 7s, formidable even to immortal emperors. Compared to the cultivation systems back in the swallowed star world, the sacrificial Tao was like a primal chaos lord. Simply in terms of realm, the 10 sacrificial Tao ancestors could overwhelm most challengers. And that was not all. The weird race also had 10 dark immortal emperors. Do not underestimate them. Many of them were Tier 7 as well. Yue Ming replayed the Shrouding the Heavens trilogy in his memory. The weird race had originated from the owner of a 3 lives bronze coffin, an entity above the sacrificial Tao. The great sacrifice the weird race performed was an offering to that being. According to Sect Master Tongqian, long ago the weird lineage of the heavens had invaded the Shrouding the Heavens world. It was only through the desperate resistance of the bronze coffin's owner that the invasion had been driven back. But the victory came at a price. The coffin's owner had been infected with ominous corruption. His flesh and soul decayed, black blood and mist seeped from him. With no hope of recovery, he forged a bronze coffin, ground a stone jar to hold his ashes, immolated himself, placed his ashes inside, and buried the jar beneath the plateau. Over time, geological upheavals tipped the coffin, opened its lid, and the ashes within the jar scattered across the land, forming the wasteland plateau. The first beings touched by those ashes were transformed into the ancestors of the weird race. From them, the weird race developed. In truth, the weird race of the Shrouding the Heavens world could be considered a branch of the weird lineage of the heavens. Chapter 217, Revisiting the Shrouding the Heavens world. I'm now a high-level primordial chaos lifeform, and I possess an 8th-tier supreme treasure, the Chaos Sword. Killing a dark immortal emperor won't be difficult. Even against a sacrificial Tao-level weird ancestor, I should be able to contend, and might even kill him. In pure cultivation terms, Yue Ming was 1 level below a weird ancestor, but sacrificial Tao belonged to the 7th rank. The Chaos Sword was an 8th-tier supreme treasure. Even if he could not unleash its full power, activating it fully would still deliver terrifying destruction. Beings above the immortal emperor level were already hard to completely annihilate, let alone the weird race. Even if they were killed, they could revive on the wasteland plateau. That was precisely why the weird race was so hard to exterminate. Their continuous revival depended on the wasteland plateau, on the residual power left by the above-sacrificed Tao existence. But the Chaos Sword was also an 8th-tier existence. If someone were killed by it, even the wasteland plateau could not bring them back. Yue Ming logged into the chat group. Everyone was discussing the released serial quest, but no one had accepted it. The quest description warned that those below the 7th rank should not accept it. Most of the group were transmigrators who had read the Shrouding the Heavens trilogy and knew how terrifying the weird race was. Origin point rewards were plentiful and tempting, but living long enough to spend them mattered far more. None of the survivors were fools. They'd become seasoned veterans. The naive, arrogant types who believed themselves to be the protagonist had long ago been cut down and wouldn't have survived this long. Yue Ming glanced at the chat history, closed the window, and entered the administrator's communication group. Li Shane, Lu Ming, and Liu Shanshan had already come online. Yue Ming was the last to log in. Li Shane, Coiling Dragon, 7th rank. The advanced serial quest for the Shrouding the Heavens world has been released. It's the final quest in the series. It's extremely dangerous. 10 weird ancestors will appear together, plus 10 dark immortal emperors. That means we'll be facing 27th rank existences. Yue Ming, Swallowed Star, 7th rank. I bought an innately immortal spiritual light from the chat group mall. Lucky me, the Chaos Sword embryo transformed and advanced into a mid-level 8th tier supreme treasure. With the Chaos Sword in hand, dealing with a few weird ancestors shouldn't be a big problem. Lu Ming, Shrouding the Heavens, 7th rank. I used all my origin points to break through to Immortal Emperor. I don't have any left to buy an 8th tier supreme treasure. Liu Shanshan, what about you? Will you accept the quest? Liu Shanshan, Divine Tomb, 6th rank. I'll pass. I'm only 6th rank. This time we face 27th rank existences. If I went, I'd be cannon fodder and might even drag you down. Liu Shanshan was self-aware. Though she had broken through to 6th rank, her strength at best matched a peak immortal king, not even a quasi-immortal emperor. Going to the Shrouding the Heavens world would make her expendable. She might die if she slipped up. At her realm, revival wasn't easy. Even in a Xuanhuang Great World, a 6th rank was barely a master. The higher the realm, the greater the cost to revive. It was worth noting that as administrators of the chat group and core members of the Transmigrator lineage, there was a hidden benefit. If they died, they would generally be revived, though often incurring huge debts. It was similar to the human race in the Swallowed Star world. Many universe exalts who died were revived by their race. Qianwu Exalt, for example, had died 3 times and been resurrected by the human race's universe lord. Li Shane, this quest is too dangerous. Without strength above the 7th rank, the probability of death is very high. Even we aren't confident we can retreat unscathed. It's right for Shanshan not to accept it. Yue Ming, I'll apply to transmigrate to the Shrouding the Heavens world first. Lu Ming, please approve it, so that after accepting the quest, I won't be randomly teleported to some unknown place. It would be a joke if I were sent to the weird race's lair. Transmigration to quest worlds was random. Nobody knew where they would be teleported. For safety, it was wiser to first transmigrate to the Shrouding the Heavens world, then accept the quest. Otherwise, being randomly dumped onto the Wasteland Plateau would be a cruel twist. Send me a message when you want to transmigrate. The quest was just released. We still have 3 years to prepare. Of course, if you want to go now, you can. I'll initiate the transmigration application now. Please approve it. I don't have anything to prepare. 3 short years won't change much anyway. He initiated the transmigration application directly. If the black patterned stone pillar space still had an effect, Yue Ming would have liked to cultivate longer, but after breaking through to a primordial chaos life form, the time acceleration effect no longer affected him. Leash, I'm the same. No preparations. I've already initiated the transmigration application. Yue Ming's form vanished from the Swallowed Star world. In the next instant, he transmigrated and arrived in the Shrouding the Heavens world. His will expanded and swept across the immortal domain. The immortal domain had not changed much in structure. The biggest difference was how much stronger everyone had become. Lu Ming's breakthrough to Immortal Emperor was a given. People like Ye Fan, Empress, Wu Shi, Emperor Qing, Duan Dai, the Divine Silkworm Ancient Emperor, and others had all broken through to the quasi-immortal Emperor realm. Several had even reached peak quasi-immortal Emperor, one step from Immortal Emperor. Beyond them, nearly 100 people in the Heavenly Court had advanced to Immortal King, many to giant-level Immortal Kings. The current Heavenly Court was no longer what it had been, and all of this was thanks to the black-patterned stone pillar space. The outermost zones of the black-patterned stone pillar space could accelerate time by thousands of times. The deepest part accelerated time by 1,000,000-fold. The Immortals had cultivated there for long stretches, and each of them had made significant progress. Breaking through to the Immortal Emperor realm, however, was not something that could be achieved by isolation and slow accumulation alone. Still, The accumulation of power by people like Ye Fan was substantial. Perhaps after a few life-and-death battles, their potential would be triggered, and they could break through to Immortal Emperor in one leap. Shortly after Yue Ming arrived, Li Shanhe appeared in the Shrouding the Heavens world as well. At Lu Ming's invitation, the group gathered in the Heavenly Court's deliberation hall. Ye Fan and the others had been waiting. The two sides greeted each other with smiles, and then took their seats. Chapter 218, First Meeting with the Desolate Heaven Emperor. Shi Hao, several years passed in the blink of an eye. The Heavenly Court's true immortal and higher combat forces gathered. Led by Yue Ming, they surged majestically out of the immortal realm, crossed the boundless boundary sea, and arrived at its far edge. Above the sky at the end of the boundary sea, countless divine chains of order hung densely, covering the heavens. Where there should have been an opening, the gap had been filled and sealed by those endless chains. Yue Ming drew a chaos-colored longsword and with a single swing struck a beam of swordlight that shattered the seal. He then led everyone upward into the above heavens. "Is this the legendary above heavens? How can it be in such ruin?" one of the younger cultivators murmured. "What happened here? This isn't anything like the tales," another said. It looked as if a catastrophic war had torn the above heavens apart. Yue Ming spread his will in all directions, sweeping across the devastated realm. Most of the above heavens was shattered, only a few pockets remained intact. Everything pointed to a terrible war whose final outcome had been the defeat of the above heavens and near annihilation of its powers. As they arrived, two towering figures materialized from the air, a young man and a young woman. The aura they gave off marked them clearly. Both were immortal emperor-level existences. Immortal Luotian, Meng Hai. Yue Ming looked up at them. If he was right, these were the only two remaining immortal emperors of the above heavens. "The lower realm produces many heroes," the woman said. "First there was a desolate heaven emperor, and now you. If only you had arrived sooner, perhaps we would not have suffered such a defeat." "Where is the desolate heaven emperor?" Yue Ming asked, scanning the realm with his will. He felt no trace of Shi Hao. "He isn't here," Immortal Luotian replied, shaking her head gently. "After that war ended, he left alone. We haven't seen him in a long time, but we know he's still alive." Luotian told them what little they knew. After the above heavens' final battle, Shi Hao had gone alone into the wasteland plateau and nearly died in the Earth of Calamity, fighting his way out through extraordinary hardship. Later, Shi Hao had manifested the myriad heavens and resurrected many beings from the chaotic ancient era. He had paid dearly for that miracle. His Tao cultivation was seriously damaged, and he slumbered through several eras before beginning a slow recovery. "We've just received word that the weird race plans to hold a grand sacrifice ahead of schedule," Yue Ming said. "We must contact the desolate heaven emperor immediately, gather all available forces, and fight the weird race to the death." Luotian and Meng Hai's expressions changed. The news had not yet reached them. Of course it hadn't. They had no idea the weird race was accelerating their plans. "If you can't contact him either, then don't worry about it for now," Yue Ming continued, glancing between the two immortal emperors. "As long as the desolate heaven emperor lives, he will appear when the decisive battle comes. Prepare to march." He noticed both immortal emperors still bore severe wounds. Though years had passed, their injuries had never fully healed. "Your injuries are serious," Yue Ming said. "You two will be mainstays in the coming conflict. Take these precious medicines and go into seclusion to recover. They should restore you to your peak." The medicines he offered were supreme grade, capable of healing immortal emperors, tier 7 at the very least. Yue Ming had purchased them from the chat group mall, using origin points, and he didn't hesitate to spend what was necessary. Li Shanhe and Yue Ming had agreed that the cost could be deducted from the mission rewards later. "Thank you," Meng Hai said. In the last war, he had nearly perished. Luotian had spent years seeking such rare remedies. Now, at last, there were medicines powerful enough to patch their wounds. "You two should enter seclusion immediately," Yue Ming urged. "We'll continue searching for the desolate heaven emperor. We hope to find him." Decades slipped by. Luotian and Meng Hai remained in seclusion, slowly recovering. Yue Ming and the others used every method at their disposal, even reversing the river of time to track Shi Hao. After much effort, they finally managed to contact him. Desolate Heaven Emperor, they called. A majestic figure appeared, Shi Hao himself. But his condition was poor. Manifesting the myriad heavens and resurrecting the chaotic ancient era's immortals had cost him dearly. He stood in an otherworldly secret realm, surrounded by heavenly immortals of the chaotic ancient era who were cultivating there. These beings had been resurrected by Shi Hao and had not yet returned to full strength. Awakening them from oblivion did not mean immediate restoration. They needed long years of recuperation and transformation to truly revive. They were slowly coming back, but their cultivations were far from peak. Yue Ming and the others came prepared. They had purchased a vast quantity of precious medicines from the chat group mall, confident the items would accelerate recovery. For them, origin points were abundant. Spending them on medicines was no great burden. The weird ancestors have all appeared and will hold their grand sacrifice ahead of schedule, Yue Ming told Shi Hao. We must fight the weird race to the death. Your current state is weak, but these medicines should help restore you to your peak. For Shi Hao's level, he had already broken through into the sacrificial Tao realm. Typical Tier 7 medicines would barely scratch the surface. Yue Ming presented a supreme Tier 7 medicine that had cost over 200 origin points. It was a heavy expenditure, but necessary. Shi Hao did not fuss over small things. Facing the imminent sacrifice and the chance to recover for one more shot at victory, he accepted the medicine without hesitation. Then I won't be polite, he said, and took it. 219. Kill on the A2 Plateau. Chapter 219. Ascending the Wasteland Plateau to kill. In the blink of an eye, several hundred years passed. After refining the precious medicines gifted by Yue Ming and the others, immortal emperors Luo Tian and Meng Hai, along with Shi Hao, finally recovered from their injuries and returned to peak strength. There was more good news. The Willow deity, after being shattered and reforged, underwent a profound change. Her cultivation advanced another step, giving their side one more immortal emperor-level fighter before the final battle. Willow deity. Seeing that familiar, peerlessly beautiful figure, Shi Hao fell into a reverie, memories flooding back. Once, he had ventured alone into the Earth of Calamity and nearly died. At the last moment, the Willow deity risked everything to save him, staining the ancestral land of the plateau with her blood. Carrying the gravely wounded Shi Hao, she staggered through the Earth of Calamity until she fell and her origin Tao shattered. Shi Hao's character was tenacious and indomitable. He always pushed through every obstacle, but on that day, he had been helpless. He could only watch her fall. Later, he manifested across the heavens and strove to bring her back, but could never truly restore her. Now, aided by a top-grade 7th-tier supreme treasure, the Willow deity had been truly revived, reforged, and strengthened. Everyone, it's time to depart. They had to hurry. Some immortal emperors who should have been revived, like the corpse immortal emperor, still were not. Some who ought to have broken through to immortal emperor, such as Wu Shi and the Empress, had yet to do so. But the weird race's great sacrifice was imminent, and they had run out of time. Their mission was to stop that sacrifice, and Yue Ming and the others decided to go on the offensive and strike at the Earth of Calamity. Expedition! Led by Yue Ming, Shi Hao, and the rest, the Grand Army surged into the Dark Realms, tearing through one dark world after another with unstoppable force. These dark worlds belonged to the weird race. The Heavenly Court forces swept through them, annihilating dark creatures until they finally arrived outside the A2 Plateau. Desolate, you have finally shown yourself. From deep within the plateau, titanic figures rose, majestic as universes, each terrifying beyond imagination. They were the 10 weird ancestors, sacrificial Tao-level existences. Behind them marched 10 dark immortal emperors and countless dark quasi-immortal emperors. To crush Desolate once and for all, the weird race had truly come out in full force. The Heavenly Courts had many experts, including several quasi-immortal emperor-level existences, but they were outnumbered, especially in sacrificial Tao and immortal emperor ranks. The gap was stark. Desolate, your potential is boundless. We have hunted you for endless years, thinking we could root you out. Though you were covered in blood and your Tao scarred, you never fell. You went so far as to revive an ancient era, clawing it back to life. Still, that only weakened you briefly. Now you have recovered to your peak, stronger than before. Desolate, join us. We will give you primal substance so you can become one of us. With your potential, your strength after transformation will exceed ours. At the edge of the plateau, a weird ancestor spoke, his voice ringing through all realms. He even offered Shi Hao the precious primal substance, promising to elevate him into a weird ancestor. That primal substance was actually the ashes of an above-sacrifice Tao being. Any being tainted by those ashes, even an immortal emperor, would undergo a strange transformation. Their power would increase dramatically, but a dark consciousness would emerge and eventually supplant their original self. And you, this variable. All 10 weird ancestors turned their gaze to Yue Ming. In their calculations, Yue Ming was the wild card. While they still tried to sway Shi Hao, they harbored a lethal intent toward Yue Ming. Yue Ming was speechless. He had not expected to be singled out. Being stared down by 10 sacrificial Tao-level weird ancestors was pressure enough. No more words. Fight. Shi Hao's resolve did not waver at the weird ancestor's offer. He would never side with the weird race. The weird ancestor sighed coldly, and with a sweeping gesture, the dark creatures across the E2 plateau surged forward in unison. The two heavenly court forces met them head-on. Kill! Despite the disadvantage and the danger, the heavenly court experts charged with resolute faces. Clashes shook the heavens. The void quivered, the river of time trembled, and torrents of immortal blood dyed the realms red as combatants fell at every moment. Annihilate them! From now on, no one will rival us. The 10 weird ancestors moved as one. The river of time rolled backward, myriad Taos disintegrated, and cosmic forces bent to their feet. 10 ancient, terrifying coffins rose and tore open the universe's membrane outside the plateau. Victory or defeat depends on this battle. The 10 weird ancestors will be handled by the 3 of us. You all go hold off the 10 dark immortal emperors. We don't ask you to slay them, just hold them back as long as possible. Yue Ming drew his chaos sword and, flanked by Shi Hao and Li Shanhe, charged at the 10 weird ancestors. Yue Ming, immortal Luo Tian, Meng Hai, the Willow Deity, the 10-crowned king, and the others turned toward the 10 dark immortal emperors. I'll try to hold 5 weird ancestors. The other 5 are on you too, Li Shanhe said, producing a golden pagoda. The 9-tiered pagoda seemed cast from solid gold. From its corners cascaded strands of profound yellow qi that wrapped around Li Shanhe. The pagoda was a mid-grade 8th-tier supreme treasure, blending offense, defense, and sealing functions. Li Shanhe had purchased it for several thousand origin points at the chat group mall. By cultivation rank, he was below Shi Hao and Yue Ming, but with the pagoda he believed he could contain some of the enemy. Go! Li Shanhe tossed the pagoda. It expanded with the wind until it towered 10,000 light-years tall, then descended and swallowed 5 weird ancestors who hadn't reacted quickly enough. The pagoda's power was immense, but Li Shanhe's own cultivation was too low to sustain it fully. It could only seal those 5 temporarily. The effect had a time limit. Now Yue Ming and Shi Hao had to seize the chance and eliminate the remaining 5 weird ancestors before the sealed ones broke free. That fragile window was all Li Shanhe could buy. Chapter 220, The Power of the Chaos Sword. What a treasure. When Shi Hao saw the golden pagoda instantly seal 5 weird ancestors, he couldn't help but exclaim. His desolate sword and thunder pool were formidable, but they paled beside the pagoda. Li Shanhe, directing the golden pagoda, had sealed 5 ancestors in one move. Countless people witnessed it. For those on the heavenly court side, it was invigorating. For the weird race, it was as if the sky had fallen. Their invincible ancestors had been bound before everyone's eyes, and every dark creature trembled. How dare you! The other weird ancestors roared and lunged to rescue their sealed kin. Yue Ming and Shi Hao moved up instantly to block them. 5 are already sealed. Hold back 4 and leave 1 for me. I can kill it and stop it from reviving, Yue Ming said. Shi Hao's eyes brightened. He had fought the weird race for years, cut down many dark immortal emperors and even true weird ancestors, but the Wasteland Plateau's strange properties always let them revive. That perpetual resurrection made them effectively undefeatable. If not for that, he might have claimed to pacify the weird race himself. At least, relentless hunting could reduce their effective strength. We are immortal and eternal. No thing in the world can truly kill us. You ants, how dare you entertain the thought of wiping us out? One weird ancestor sneered, refusing to believe anything could end them. The weird ancestor's contempt shifted to alarm when Yue Ming activated the Chaos Sword. The blade's aura made his eyes widen. A maddening pressure and a sense of overwhelming threat washed over him. "Try me," Yue Ming said and struck. A brilliant sword light cleaved through past and future. The weird ancestor's head blew apart under the blow. Yet, as expected for beings of that level, his body instantly reknit itself. It seemed only a minor injury. The weird ancestor laughed in disbelief. But Yue Ming's attack had done something worse than physical harm. It had annihilated a portion of the primal substance inside him. That primal substance was the anchor to the wasteland plateau, the very source of their ability to break through to the sacrificial Tao, become ancestors, and revive. Once part of the primal substance was destroyed, their cultivation could drop, and their link to the plateau could be severed. That meant no more automatic revival. "Kill!" Yue Ming struck again. Swordlight swept the heavens and earth, cutting rivers of time and tearing through dark worlds. The weird ancestor's body was blown apart repeatedly. Though his flesh reformed each time, the primal substance in him was being whittled away. Yue Ming's sword also splintered the ancient coffin fixed to the ancestor's back. Meanwhile, Shi Hao was locked against 4 weird ancestors and struggling. He was blown apart multiple times as well. His body reassembled, but his wounds deepened. Still, his condition was far better than it would have been without the medicines and support Yue Ming and the others had provided. Without that aid, one man holding off 4 would have been impossible. Elsewhere, the fighting raged. Lu Ming and his group faced too many dark immortal emperors and were forced to fight 2-on-1 at times. They fought with everything they had just to avoid defeat. Below the quasi-immortal emperor realm, the slaughter was worst of all. 2 massive armies clashed with no quarter, immortal kings streaking the sky with blood, both sides paying unbearable costs. Each time the weird ancestor's form reassembled, Yue Ming pulverized it anew. Though Yue Ming himself was only a high-level primordial chaos lifeform, the Chaos Sword amplified him enormously. His attacks reached the level of a 7th-tier peak. The ancestor kept coming back, but with each reformation, more of his primal substance vanished. A few hundred more strikes, and he truly would be gone. "Damn you," the weird ancestor howled, furious and helpless. If Li Shanhe had not first seized the initiative and sealed 5 of them, he would never have ended up like this. But it was too late now. "One last sword to send you away," Yue Ming said. After hundreds of strikes, the primal substance remaining within the weird ancestor was nearly gone. The ancestor's eyes were bloodshot. He had no strength left to resist. The final sword light pierced him, and his body exploded into a cloud of blood mist. Before the mist could reform, it was consumed by the blade's light. This time, there was no recovery. A sacrificial Tao-grade weird ancestor had been completely annihilated. All trace of his existence was erased. Perhaps because of differences in world structure, between the swallowed star world, where even a primal chaos lord could not traverse past and future, and the shrouding the heavens world, where a quasi-immortal emperor might barely manage such feats, Yue Ming's deep grasp of the Tao, including the law of karma among 3,000 laws he had comprehended, let him erase the ancestor's lingering traces. The wiping of an ancestor's existence was something only he could pull off. Ancestor. Many dark creatures watched in disbelief. An omnipotent ancestor had truly fallen and would never revive. Shi Hao, Li Shanhe, and the others felt a swell of encouragement. With one true annihilation achieved, the balance had begun to tip in their favor.